Chapter 587. Controlling Ao Ying and Xian Hai, Qin Yu opened the Eternal Dragon Country again. Under Qin Yu's control, Ao Ying and Xian Hai also absorbed the Dragon Emperor's origin source Dragon Qi. During this period of time, Fen Yu and Lei Kuang's cultivation had a huge leap. And judging from the majestic Dragon Emperor's origin source Dragon Qi in the Eternal Dragon Country, it was enough to support Fen Yu and the other three for a long time. Compared to waiting for the end of the cultivation, their cultivation would undergo a huge transformation. They could even become Qin Yu's combat strength. After leaving the Eternal Dragon Country, Qin Yu entered the ancient seal of the Divine Dragon. The Dragon Soul was still cultivating right now. Qin Yu carefully sensed and found that the heavenly soul left by the Dragon Emperor had almost been completely refined by the Dragon Soul. The Dragon Soul was originally only a 3rd grade Emperor Realm Master, but now it had reached the 6th grade Emperor Realm. Such a cultivation speed could be said to be not much weaker than Qin Yu's. More importantly, the heavenly soul of the Dragon Emperor had not been completely refined by the Dragon Soul. One could imagine how much energy the heavenly soul left by the Dragon Emperor contained. This also confirmed that the Dragon Emperor had indeed reached the immortal grade Dragon Clan. However, why did he pass away here was still a mystery. To a martial artist, the immortal grade Dragon Clan was equivalent to crossing the 9 grades of the martial path and reaching a whole new level of cultivation. Such an existence was completely extinct in the current heaven domain. Only in various ancient secret books could one find some legends of such existence. After staying in the ancient seal of the Divine Dragon for a while, he saw that the Dragon Soul still needed some time to refine the heavenly soul. Qin Yu returned to the tomb of the Dragon Emperor and began to explore. Given Qin Yu's current level of power, he will not be able to increase his power by much in a short period of time. Therefore, Qin Yu wanted to take the opportunity to carefully search the tomb of the Dragon Emperor. He wanted to see if he could find the reason why the Dragon Emperor had passed away. After flying for more than a month in the tomb of the Dragon Emperor, Qin Yu really found something. In the depths of the Dragon Emperor's tomb, there was an ancient altar in an area filled with grey air. The altar was about 30 meters tall and seemed to be made of bronze. It gave off a heavy feeling that carried the weight of a civilization. On the body of the bronze altar, there were countless ancient and mysterious runes carved on it. Qin Yu observed for a long time before he recognized that those ancient spells were actually the long-lost secret language of the ancient Dragon Clan. Only the Dragon Clan of the primordial era knew this secret language. Every secret language contained a mysterious primordial power. Now, the bronze altar was inscribed with so many secret words. One could imagine what kind of sealing power it contained. Qin Yu flew to the top of the altar and looked down. Only then did he discover that the bronze altar was suppressing a dark blue horn that was several zhong long. A bone-chilling aura was emitted from the blue horn. This fluctuation, after Qin Yu felt the cold qi, a look of intense shock flashed in his eyes. It was even more shocking than when he saw the primordial secret words. This was because the cold aura emanating from the blue horn was none other than the cold aura of the cold ghost plains. However, the cold qi from the blue horn was many times stronger than the cold qi from the frost ghostly plains. The cold qi from the two was on a completely different level. However, the cold qi from the blue horn vaguely gave Qin Yu a familiar feeling, as if he had felt it somewhere before. Right. Is it the frost beast? Suddenly, Qin Yu quivered. He remembered. Back on the frost ghostly plains, after Qin Yu had killed a frost tribe member, he had seen the frost beast for a moment. Back then, the giant chilling beast had given Qin Yu a bone-chilling sense of danger. The memory of it was still fresh in his mind, unforgettable. Therefore, Qin Yu was certain that the cold air emitted by the gloomy frosthorn was definitely of the same origin as the gloomy frost beast. Could the Dragon Emperor's passing here have something to do with the frost beast? This thought flashed through Qin Yu's mind. He found it hard to believe. If that was the case, wouldn't the frost beast have the ability to suppress the immortal grey dragon tribe? Did such a creature still exist in the heaven region? Although this thought was hard to believe, it was not impossible. In Qin Yu's previous life, he was known as the strongest ancient emperor in the 9 states of the heaven region. Even so, Qin Yu had not thoroughly searched all the forbidden grounds in the 9 states of the heaven region. For example, the immortal seeking ancient road, which was said to be the immortal path. In Qin Yu's previous life, he had obtained the immortal trove of the immortal battle dragon skill. In the immortal god graveyard, where Xing Luo and the others attacked Qin Yu and caused Qin Yu's death. Countless eternal sword tombs, the sacrificial god ridge, where thousands of gods were sacrificed. And the end of the endless abyss where the Dragon Emperor's tomb was now. In his previous life, Qin Yu had never set foot in these famous forbidden areas. As for the Frost Plains, Qin Yu had gone there in both his previous and current lives. However, he had only been there and had not explored it in depth. It was possible that there were creatures above the 9th stage of the martial path in these forbidden grounds. What does the Frost Beast have to do with the Dragon Emperor? Sizing up that gloomy cold horn, Qin Yu's eyes narrowed. His eyes were flickering with a pondering expression. There must be a reason why the Dragon Emperor sealed the frost horn here. However, the 3 great legacies that the Dragon Emperor had left behind, the bloodline inheritance and the Dragon Emperor's heavenly soul, had been refined by Aodi and the Dragon Soul respectively. As for the Star Dragon Nation, there was no news about the Dragon Emperor. After thinking for a long time, Qin Yu's right hand touched the immemorial secret curse on the altar. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Immediately, the immemorial secret curse vibrated and the battle dragon True Yuan in Qin Yu's body was devoured. Qin Yu did not stop it. Instead, he followed the flow of the True Yuan and carefully sensed the immemorial secret curse. After about half an hour, with the help of the Dragon Clan's origin bloodline power in his body, Qin Yu thoroughly understood the immemorial Dragon Clan's secret language on the bronze altar. There were a total of 397 secret words of the Dragon Clan, and each of them contained a different kind of power. Seal. Qin Yu formed a hand seal with both hands. The battle dragon Dao technique's True Yuan turned into threads of light and spread through all the secret curse words. Qin Yu was still unable to decipher the power contained in the secret curse words. Therefore, he used a secret technique to seal all the secret curse words separately. He would think of a way to decipher them in the future when he had the chance. Rumble. The moment the secret curse words left the bronze altar, the blue horn that had been sealed suddenly erupted with a monstrous cold aura. The power was so strong that the entire Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb shook and the air froze. The degree of coldness was comparable to Aodi's Heaven and Earth seal. Dragon Chi derivation technique. 5 gods subduing sky formation. 8 trigrams battle dragon array. Qin Yu, who was already prepared, immediately split into 3 figures. At the same time, the 2 strongest ancient killing arrays that Qin Yu possessed were both set up. With the bronze altar as the center, the area within a few hundred kilometers was completely sealed off. If an ordinary Emperor Realm Master stepped inside, they would definitely be killed instantly. Chapter 588. Qin Yu heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the double killing formation had successfully blocked the chilly aura. Everything was as he had expected. The power of the blue horn was not strong enough to require an ancient emperor to suppress it. With Qin Yu's current cultivation, the double killing formation was more than enough to suppress it. Under Qin Yu's control, the 5 gods subduing sky formation and the 8 trigrams battle dragon formation shrunk. One could clearly see that the chilling aura emitted by the chilling horn was continuously being compressed and shrunk. When the chilly aura was compressed to a certain limit, Qin Yu suddenly attacked. He slapped his palm onto that gloomy cold horn. Countless mysterious runes spread out from Qin Yu's palm in an instant, covering the entire gloomy cold horn. The cold horn, which had been emitting waves of cold energy, immediately quieted down. Qin Yu grabbed that gloomy cold single horn and carefully inspected it at a close distance. The horn was covered with profound frost runes. Those runes seemed to be naturally formed and did not have any traces of carving. At first glance, they did not seem to be any different from beast runes. However, those profound frost runes contained an incomparably terrifying wave of cold qi. This is not a Dao technique from the heaven domain. After observing carefully, Qin Yu's eyes flashed with shock. The chilly aura from those mysterious runes was completely different from the Dao techniques of the heaven domain. Although there were millions of Tao techniques in the heaven domain, Qin Yu had not come into contact with all of them. However, the Tao techniques from outside the heaven domain and the Tao techniques from the heaven domain gave off completely different auras. That feeling was akin to fire and ice. Without even looking at it, one could clearly sense it. Wasn't this horn from the heavenly domain? That meant that the giant chilling beast on the chilling plains was also not from the heaven domain. In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Qin Yu's mind. After a long while, Qin Yu finally got rid of the distracting thoughts in his mind. Qin Yu was still too far away from all of this. There was no need to think about it. He would only have time to explore it after his cultivation recovered and he avenged the 12 ancient emperors. Peng peng peng. After another 3 months, an extremely terrifying fluctuation appeared from the divine dragon ancient seal. Qin Yu looked into the ancient seal and realized that the dragon soul had completely merged with the dragon emperor's heaven soul. Now, the dragon soul had already turned into a huge ball of light, and its figure could not be seen at all. Only waves of extremely violent and violent fluctuations were being emitted from the ball of light of the dragon soul, wreaking havoc within the ancient seal of the divine dragon. Is it undergoing a transformation? Seeing this, Qin Yu laid down a series of ancient restrictions around him and directly entered the ancient divine dragon seal. Because their souls were connected, Qin Yu could roughly sense that the dragon soul's current situation was on the verge of metamorphosis. Just in case, Qin Yu felt that it was better to protect Qin Yu from the side. As for Aodi, it was still in a meditative state. No one knew when it would wake up. However, as time passed, Aodi's aura grew more and more terrifying. Although it had yet to break through to the divine emperor realm, once it awakened, it would definitely be well prepared. As the dragon soul underwent a metamorphosis and Qin Yu protected it, time slowly passed. On this day, Qin Yu, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. Almost instantly, a deafening dragon's roar rang out. Waves of destructive tornadoes swept through half of the ancient divine dragon seal space. Those destructive tornadoes were formed by the substantial dragon chi. At the center of the dragon aura, a tall figure with a magnificent dragon aura appeared. It was the dragon soul in human form. It actually directly broke through to the divine emperor realm. The moment he saw the dragon soul, Qin Yu's eyes suddenly flashed with a bright light. After merging with the dragon emperor's heaven soul, the dragon soul's cultivation had improved greatly, far beyond Qin Yu's expectations. From the third-grade emperor realm to the divine emperor realm, one could imagine how astonishing such a leap was. Qin Yu smiled. With Pan Hong, he now had the battle strength of 2 divine emperors. And Qin Yu's battle strength was not afraid of a divine emperor realm. With Qin Yu's current strength, it was enough for him to take action. You have refined the Umbra illusion dragon? After the dragon soul withdrew the dragon chi tornadoes, it appeared in front of Qin Yu. After sensing for a while, it understood. The dragon soul had already sensed that Qin Yu's cultivation had not only reached the 7th grade emperor realm. The main dragon vein and sub-dragon vein had also far surpassed that of his previous life. For such a situation to occur, it could only be that Qin Yu had refined the dragon clan's bloodline. Aodi should not have done it, so it could only be Ao Ying. Is there any clue about this blue horn in the dragon emperor's heaven soul? Qin Yu nodded. With a move of his right hand, the sealed blue horn appeared and asked the dragon soul. Qin Yu had always been interested in this blue horn. There really is. The dragon soul nodded with a grave expression when it saw the dark blue horn. This dark blue horn was the horn of an exotic beast from the outer realm, the azure ice beast. Back then, the dragon emperor's death was inseparable from this azure ice beast. According to the dragon emperor's information, after the dragon emperor passed the death dragon tribulation and successfully crossed the bloodline limit, he stepped onto the immortal-seeking ancient road. In the end, he met the azure ice beast on the starry ancient road. The dragon emperor and the azure ice beast both wanted to devour each other's bloodline power, so a great battle broke out. In the end, the azure ice beast's horn was chopped off by the dragon emperor, and the dragon emperor was severely injured by the azure ice beast. More importantly, the azure ice beast was already injured at that time. Under such circumstances, the Dragon Emperor was still defeated by the Azure Ice Beast. Not long after, the Dragon Emperor, whose origin was injured, passed away in the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb. Azure Ice Beast. Exotic beast. Qin Yu's expression turned serious after learning the information that the Dragon Emperor had left behind from the Dragon Soul's memories. The Azure Ice Beast that the Dragon Emperor had mentioned was most likely the giant dark frost beast that he had vaguely seen in the gloomy plains. To be able to severely injure the Dragon Emperor, who had become an immortal great dragon and was at his peak, while he was injured, the Azure Ice Beast had to be extremely powerful. The strength of the Azure Ice Beast was simply immeasurable. "I'm afraid we'll have to move Long Hao out of the gloomy plains," the Dragon Soul said to Qin Yu. Since there was such a terrifying existence in the gloomy plains, it was not appropriate for Long Hao to remain frozen in the gloomy plains. No one knew when the Azure Ice Beast would go berserk. If something happened, Long Hao would be in danger. Indeed. Qin Yu nodded. After returning, he had to deal with Long Hao's matter first. Although the curse in Long Hao's body was troublesome, the Azure Ice Beast was an unstable volcano. It was better to stay away from it. It's time to leave. At this thought, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul left the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb. It had been more than a year since he had first entered the Void Realm. He wondered how Pam Hong and Taishu Kong were doing. Chapter 589. 7 days later, at the border of the East Continent, outside an ancient city. What's going on? Qin Yu hid in the void and looked at the ancient city with a strange look in his eyes. At this moment, hundreds of Emperor Realm Masters, led by 3 Saint Emperors, flew out of the ancient city and disappeared in an instant. There are 3 Divine Emperors in this ancient city. When the Dragon Soul appeared beside Qin Yu, it was also surprised. Although the martial Dao level in the East Continent was higher than in the spiritual state, Divine Emperors were not everywhere. Only the immortal sacred lands that had ancient emperors would have many Divine Emperors. Given the remote location of this ancient city, there should not be 3 Divine Emperors. Let's enter the city first. Qin Yu's figure flashed and entered the ancient city. Before leaving the endless abyss, Qin Yu sent a secret message to Pan Hong and Taishu Kong. At this time, Pan Hong and Taishu Kong should have arrived in the city. Master. Sure enough, just as Qin Yu entered the city, Pan Hong and Taishu Kong immediately came to greet him. Seeing Qin Yu, who had disappeared for a year, appear again, Pan Hong and Taishu Kong heaved a sigh of relief. Although they knew that Qin Yu had many tricks up his sleeves, Qin Yu's cultivation had not recovered to its peak. They were really worried that Qin Yu would be in danger. Have you investigated the ancient emperor's forces in the East and South continents? Qin Yu went straight to the point and asked. We've already investigated everything. Furthermore, we've already made arrangements. Pan Hong and Taishu Kong nodded and said. In the past year, they had not dared to slack off and had been preparing for the task that Qin Yu had asked them to do. As he spoke, Pan Hong immediately took out a piece of crystal stone. In addition to the East and South continents, Pan Hong and Taishu Kong had also investigated the ancient emperors in the Central and Northwest continents. In Qin Yu's previous life, the 12 ancient emperors who had besieged Qin Yu were Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian, God Emperor Ji Xie, Sacred Beast Emperor Wang, Great Sun Heavenly Emperor, Dragon Tiger Emperor, God Emperor Xian Yu, 7-star Ancient Emperor, Emperor Kai Yu, North Emperor Luan Bei, Emperor God Tian Yuan, Emperor Dian, 4 symbols Dao Emperor. Because the sacrificial evil god emperor went missing, the sacrificial evil god dynasty was annihilated by Qin Yu. Among the other 11 ancient emperors, the forces of Dragon Tiger Emperor, Emperor God Tian Yuan and 7-star Ancient Emperor were located in East Continent. The orthodoxies of Emperor God Xian Yu, Supreme Emperor Kai Yu, and Emperor Taiyang were located in the South region. Demon Saint King Emperor and Great Sun Celestial Emperor, one had a half-demon body while the other had the bloodline of the demon race. Their forces were a mix of humans and demons. Their orthodoxies were established in the West Continent and the North Continent respectively. The Sky Suppression Ghost Emperor, the North Monarch Luan Bei, and the 4 symbols Dao Emperor were located in the strongest Central Continent. The 3 ancient emperors were the cream of the crop among the 12 ancient emperors in terms of foundation and cultivation. It seems like other than the sacrificial evil god dynasty, the other ancient emperors didn't change much. After seeing all the detailed information on the ancient emperor, Qin Yu's eyes flashed coldly. Ever since he had awakened from his reincarnation, Qin Yu had never slacked off in his cultivation. Now, his path of revenge was about to officially begin. Oh yes, did anything happen in East Continent recently? After keeping the crystal, Qin Yu asked Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong. The scene that he had seen when he entered the city had caught Qin Yu's attention. Master, I was just about to talk to you about this. Pam Hong's face was solemn as he said, recently, there are signs of an invasion by the extraterritorial demon race. Although he had found out about the ancient emperor forces in East Continent, it was still a crucial moment. If Qin Yu wanted to take action against the ancient emperors, it would be troublesome. After all, the 9 continents of the heaven domain were in turmoil. If he started an internal conflict, he would definitely be accused of colluding with the extraterritorial demon race. The extraterritorial demon race is invading? Qin Yu squinted his eyes when he heard that. Although he was surprised, Qin Yu was not too surprised. Qin Yu knew that the extraterritorial demon race would definitely take action against the 9 continents of the heaven domain. It seemed that after more than a year, the extraterritorial demon race felt that the time was ripe. Are there any movements from the ancient emperors? Qin Yu could control and refine the primordial divine power, so he was not too concerned about the invasion of the extraterritorial demon race. The 9 continents of the heaven domain had fought against the extraterritorial demon race for several martial epochs, and they had encountered countless invasions. Even if the extraterritorial demon race had prepared the primordial divine power as a killer move, it would not be that easy for them to dominate the 9 continents of the heaven domain. On the contrary, Qin Yu felt that the invasion of the extraterritorial demon race was a good opportunity to make use of. According to the information that we have gathered, among the 11 ancient emperors, only Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian has not appeared. Other than him, the other ancient emperors, including Xingluo, have all appeared in the spiritual state. Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong had naturally found out about this long ago. Even Xingluo has gone. Qin Yu's eyes flickered with a thoughtful look. It seemed that the extraterritorial demon race's lineup was not to be underestimated this time. Pam Hong, continue to deploy troops in the East Continent. Little Kong, I will leave the South Continent to you. As for the extraterritorial demon race, don't get involved. After pondering for a while, Qin Yu said to Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong. If Xingluo and the 10 ancient emperors had all gone to the spiritual state, it would not be appropriate for Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong to act together with Qin Yu. After all, it was hard to say for sure about the other ancient emperors, but Xingluo would definitely recognize Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong. However, Qin Yu's identity in the spiritual state's heavenly imperial palace could be put to good use again. All right. Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong also understood Qin Yu's concerns and did not request to follow him. Although Pam Hong's cultivation had reached the divine sovereign realm, he once again felt a strong sense of pressure in front of the current Qin Yu. It could be seen that Qin Yu's strength had greatly improved in the year that he had disappeared. Before that, I have to make a trip to the cold plain. Qin Yu did not immediately depart for the spiritual state. He had to make arrangements for Long Hao. The cold plain. Master, has there been any progress in the ghost curse in junior brother's body? Tai Shu Kong's eyes lit up. His 3rd junior brother had cultivated under Qin Yu together, and their relationship was far better than that of ordinary disciples. That's not it. It's just that there are some new developments in the cold plain. Qin Yu told Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong about the blue ice beast. Of course, Qin Yu was not very sure about the blue ice beast, so naturally, he was not very sure about what he said. The cold plain is actually hiding such a creature. Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong were greatly shocked and found it hard to believe. An existence that surpassed the 9th tier of the martial path. Wouldn't that be equivalent to the ancient immortals of the primordial age? Let's go to the cold plain first and move Long Hao out. Qin Yu said, and the 3 immediately disappeared from the ancient city. Whoosh, whoosh. Qin Yu, Pam Hong, and Tai Shu Kong once again descended on the cold plain and went straight to where Long Hao was sitting. However, Suddenly, the expression of Qin Yu, who was flying, slightly changed. Immediately, he hid himself in the void. Someone's there. Pam Hong also instantly noticed and focused his senses. Chapter 590. This fluctuation seems to be from the Ghost Emperor Holy Island. In the Divine Dragon Ancient Seal, the dragon soul sensed for a moment, and a strange light flashed in its eyes. Ghost Emperor Holy Island, Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. Did the Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian already know that Long Hao was frozen here? If so, why didn't they make a move? Judging from the fact that those people had been hiding in the Netherworld cold cave, it was more like they were waiting for an ambush. Thinking of this, Qin Yu couldn't help but look at Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong. If the Ghost Emperor Holy Island wanted to use Long Hao to ambush someone, it could only be Pam Hong and Tai Shu Kong. Of course, there was another possibility, which was that the Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian knew that Qin Yu had been reincarnated. However, this possibility was very small. If the Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian really knew that he was still alive, it would be more than just divine emperors lying in ambush here. 2 low-level divine emperors and 10 top-level divine emperors. After a long while, Qin Yu sensed the cultivation of those people lurking around the Netherworld cold cave. If it was a year ago, Qin Yu wouldn't have been able to do anything to them. But now, Qin Yu, the dragon soul, and Pam Hong's cultivation had greatly improved. A low-level Saint-grade Emperor Venerable was no threat to them. Immediately, Qin Yu restrained his aura and took action secretly. Not long after, Qin Yu had set up an inescapable net within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Qin Yu did this not because he needed to borrow the power of the array, but because he didn't want those people to escape. Although Pam Hong had a strong foundation, he could only defeat a divine emperor at most. If he wanted to kill a divine emperor, he had to make it so that they had no way to escape. Otherwise, if a divine emperor wanted to escape, even if his cultivation was higher, it would be difficult to kill him. As for the dragon soul, Qin Yu didn't have to worry much. Since refining the Dragon Emperor Celestial Soul, the dragon soul's cultivation had improved greatly, which shocked Qin Yu. Low-level divine emperors shouldn't be difficult for the dragon soul. While Qin Yu was setting up the absolute death array, outside the Netherworld cold cave, a muscular man in a purple robe with a ferocious gaze suddenly opened his eyes. He stood up and looked suspiciously at the cold plains where the bone-chilling wind was howling. Looking at the insignia on this person's body, he was from one of the overlords of the central continent, the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island. Elder Zhao Qiu, is there anything unusual? Seeing this, the 10 top emperors immediately gathered together cautiously. Beside the fierce man named Zhao Qiu, an old man with white hair and beard, who was sitting cross-legged in a hemp robe, slowly opened his eyes. Elder Tianhuan, do you feel a special sense of oppression? Zhao Qiu looked at the hemp-robed old man. As he spoke, a broken blade appeared in each of his hands. The 2 broken blades were covered with ancient Dao runes and emitted an ancient and heavy aura. A special sense of oppression? The wrinkled face of the linen-clothed old man called Tianhuan trembled as pitch-black ghostly qi rose from his turbid eyes. The ghost qi seeped out of his body and into the cold wind in the surrounding void before dissipating with the wind. Someone has set up a spirit array. After about half an hour, Tianhuan's face darkened. It was obvious that someone was secretly targeting them. Sneaky scoundrel, come out! Zhao Qiu angrily roared. The sound waves were like waves, one after another, sweeping out in all directions. Everywhere it passed, the howling cold wind was completely shattered into pieces. In an instant, a huge open space appeared on the cold plains. Without the bone-chilling wind raging in the sky, even the 10 top emperors of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island were shocked. They also sensed the dense and mysterious spirit array runes in the void. This caused their expressions to change unceasingly. Just by looking at those spirit array runes, they knew how terrifying their power was. Even Zhao Qiu and Tianhuan, who were divine emperors, looked a little serious. Because even they could faintly feel danger from those spirit array runes. Swoosh! While the people of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island were extremely vigilant, 2 figures appeared. 2 figures appeared from the void. They were Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong. This time, Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong did not disguise themselves. They appeared with their true faces. It's them, right? Zhao Qiu narrowed his eyes and stared at Pan Hong and Taishu Kong with a fierce gaze. Yes, they are Long Hao's senior brothers, the former disciples of the Dragon God Emperor. Tian Huan nodded slightly, and his turbid eyes were filled with cold killing intent. It seemed that the information the Saint Island had received was true. Long Hao was indeed in this maze-like dark cold cave. As long as they captured these two, they could kill Long Hao. The inheritance of the Dragon God Emperor would completely disappear from the 9 provinces of the Heaven Domain. You are hiding here. Are you waiting for us to arrive? Pan Hong stood in the void and looked down at Zhao Qiu and Tian Huan. Taishu Kong's gaze fell on the 10 top-notch sovereigns. Although Taishu Kong's cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds after switching to Qin Yu's cultivation method. However, he could not be compared to a divine sovereign. Therefore, he could only deal with top-notch sovereigns. Long Hao sneaked into the Saint Island and killed countless of our disciples. The Ghost Emperor of the Saint Island has already issued a decree that anyone who protects Long Hao will be hunted down by the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island. You dare to ignore the decree of the Ghost Emperor of the Saint Island? What a touching friendship, Zhao Qiu said coldly. This is the Eastern continent, not your central continent. So, your Ghost Emperor's Saint badge is completely useless to us. A cold smile surfaced on Pan Hong's face when he heard this. You are courting death. The corners of Zhao Qiu's eyes twitched. His killing intent was like a wave as it majestically swept towards Pan Hong. Then let's see who is courting death. Pan Hong snorted coldly. His aura was as sharp as a sword, and Zhao Qiu's murderous intent was torn to shreds. He is also a low-level divine sovereign. Zhao Qiu's eyes flashed as he saw Pan Hong's cultivation. An early-stage Saint-grade Emperor realm venerable was comparable to him in terms of cultivation. However, Taishu Kong's cultivation was only that of a top-notch sovereign. On the other hand, they had 2 divine sovereigns and 10 top-notch sovereigns. Even if Pan Hong and Tian Huan had the help of the killing array, they still had a huge advantage. Cold Sky Evil Ghost. Zhao Qiu turned into a blur and rushed out. The broken blades in his hands emitted a cold ghost fog, and the constant wailing of ghosts made one's hair stand on end. Celestial underworld illusion. Tian Huan, dressed in linen clothes, was covered in dazzling starlight, like a sky full of twinkling stars. It was quite a pleasing sight. However, there were clearly visible black dots in the twinkling starlight. Those black dots were like black holes. One look at them and one's soul would sink into them. Chapter 591. Cold Sky Evil Ghost and Celestial Dark Illusion were both superpowers of the Ghost Dao. One had extraordinary lethality, and the other had supreme illusion Dao. When the two were used together, they could kill people who were unprepared. Moreover, these 2 superpowers were created by Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian himself, and their power was extraordinary. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 10 top-tier sovereigns did not stand aside and watch the show. They moved in unison, and their auras merged into one. They vaguely formed a battle array, and their killing intent was faintly discernible. You are digging your own grave. Although Pan Hong and Taishu Kong were surrounded, they were not surprised at all. In fact, there was even a hint of cold killing intent in their eyes. Crack. Just as the Ghost Emperor Holy Island's killing move was about to hit Pan Hong and Taishu Kong, a deafening explosion sounded like a sudden clap of thunder. In the void, streaks of purple lightning fell like a downpour. The array was so fierce that it could destroy the heavens and earth. Oh no! The moment the purple lightning fell, the Ghost Emperor Holy Island and the others' faces changed drastically. They quickly changed their attacks to break the purple lightning. Rumble. Amidst the thunderous explosion, the area within a radius of a few thousand miles was covered by purple lightning, and it turned into a sea of rolling lightning. The Ghost Emperor Holy Island's people were sent flying to different parts of the void by the purple lightning. If one were to look from 1,000 feet high, they would see that an ancient array cage appeared where the Ghost Emperor Holy Island and the others were standing, and it sealed them in that part of the void. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul appeared in front of Zhao Qiu and Tian Huan respectively. As for Pan Hong and Taishu Kong, They were controlling the killing array that Qin Yu had set up to deal with the 10 top-tier sovereigns. 7th grade sovereign? Qin Yu's appearance made Zhao Qiu frown slightly. He was a little surprised that Pan Hong had sent a mere 7th grade sovereign to deal with him. Wasn't that just sending him to his death? The aura of the dragon clan? Tian Huan stared at the dragon soul in amazement. This was because the dragon soul had a majestic dragon chi and dragon might. Without a doubt, the dragon soul belonged to a pure-blooded dragon clan creature. Moreover, the vast dragon power that the dragon soul exuded made Tian Huan feel threatened. Tian Huan became rather vigilant. Although the dragon soul's cultivation seemed to be the same as his, a divine-grade emperor, its strength was far above his. Kaila. Qin Yu did not waste his breath. The god-slaying sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed out. The blood-red sword light flashed, and the void was directly torn apart. A deep and terrifying spatial crack appeared. This is the ancient divine weapon, the god-slaying sword. Zhao Qiu actually recognized the godslayer and his eyes lit up. Chaos Edge Devil Kill. Zhao Qiu's hands moved, and the 2 broken blades in his hands transformed into 2 streaks of black light that pierced through the air. Clang! The black light and the blood light instantly collided in mid-air, and an intense and ear-piercing sound of sword and saber clashing erupted. As sparks flew, Qin Yu's Godslayer sword and Zhao Qiu's 2 broken blades were locked in a stalemate in mid-air, the destructive shockwaves of Daoist techniques sweeping towards them. This guy, shock flashed across the eyes of Zhao Qiu, who had executed his killing move. An enormous and terrifying strength was coming from the god-slaying sword. This strength was absolutely astonishing, and it was not something a 7th grade emperor could possess. Qin Yu actually had the strength to match a divine grade emperor. This frightening thought involuntarily appeared in Zhao Qiu's mind. A 7th grade emperor with the cultivation of a 7th grade emperor had the strength to match a divine grade emperor. This kind of amplification was a little too frightening. Dragon scales? Amidst his shock, the perceptive Zhao Qiu also noticed this. Azure dragon scales had appeared on Qin Yu's right hand, covering his entire right arm. Ancient and profound dragon inscriptions appeared on these dragon scales, exuding a frightening dragon might. Dragon God tyrannical body. As he blocked Zhao Qiu's attack, Qin Yu's blood energy surged. If one could see through it, they would be able to see through it. Qin Yu's blood, which has already turned a deep golden color, has a layer of golden energy condensed to protect his limbs and bones. Zhao Qiu's dual blades erupted with destructive Daoist power, which was completely neutralized by the golden dragon aura. Dragon power breaks the heavens. Qin Yu's offensive did not stop. His left hand formed a fist, and azure dragon chi circled around it as he punched out. The void shattered inch by inch like ice. The void was like a giant spider web that blotted out the sun. Qin Yu's ferocious left fist was like an immemorial devil spider hunting for its prey, as it viciously locked onto Zhao Qiu ghost god devouring spirit. Zhao Qiu reacted instantly, and the boundless ghost chi in front of him surged, turning into an evil ghost chi vortex. Qin Yu's vast dragon fist was swallowed up by this ghost chi vortex. This was a defensive divine ability of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island, and it was said to be able to devour and shatter all attacks. But, with a loud rumble, not only was Zhao Qiu's ghost chi vortex unable to devour Qin Yu's attack, it was shattered by Qin Yu's left fist, and turned into raging ghost chi. Zhao Qiu could not dodge, and he was sent flying several hundred feet by the several dozen dragon chi fists, his aura clearly weakened. Of the 9 secrets of the war dragon, the dragon god tyrant body specialized in cultivating the physical body. If cultivated to the limit, the physical body could even reach the realm of immortality. With the current defense of the dragon god tyrant body, it could completely defend against the attack of a low-level saint-grade emperor. And the unparalleled strength of the dragon god tyrant body could endanger a saint-grade emperor. Ghost Emperor killing technique. Blood trickled from the corners of Zhao Qiu's mouth, and his expression was extremely grave. When he saw Qin Yu swinging his sword at him, he hurriedly steadied himself and immediately used his life-saving move. Above Zhao Qiu's head, a giant ghost chi phantom appeared, covering the sky and soaring majestically. Following that, Zhao Qiu thrust his hands toward Qin Yu. The giant ghost Qi phantom also suddenly sent 2 palms at Qin Yu. Under the pressure of the ghostly shadow, the entire void was completely crushed apart. Looks like your status on the Ghost Emperor Holy Island isn't low. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. In his previous life, he had fought many times with the Ghost Emperor Zhentian. Naturally, he was familiar with the Ghost Emperor Zhentian's killing technique. The Ghost Emperor killing technique had a glorious record of killing ancient emperors. Unfortunately, Zhao Qiu obviously only had a superficial understanding of it. Although he had the cultivation of a saint-grade emperor, he was completely unable to unleash the true power of this killing technique. Azure Dragon fighting the heavens. Heaven-devouring dragon seal. Qin Yu's gaze was as sharp as a sword, and there was a golden dragon shadow rolling in the depths of his eyes. Qin Yu, who had used all 3 secret arts of the war dragon, had an imposing aura, and his cultivation of a 7th-grade emperor was completely raised to the saint-grade emperor realm. Die. With a sharp and deafening sword whistle, Qin Yu seemed to have become one with his sword, turning into a bloody light that pierced through the air. Rumble. The Ghost Emperor immortal killing technique that Zhao Qiu used was pierced through by Qin Yu's crimson-colored sword ray. That 1,000-foot-long ghost aura silhouette instantly shattered and exploded. Impossible. Seeing this, Zhao Qiu's pupils shrank, and his face turned pale with fear and despair. Poochie. Without waiting for Zhao Qiu to react, Qin Yu directly split him apart with a sword strike. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. His saint soul was sealed. Chapter 592. A divine emperor was easily killed by Qin Yu when he used the 9 esotericas of the war dragon. Although Qin Yu had used the 9 esotericas of the war dragon, he had not displayed his true combat strength. If news of this were to spread, many people would be shocked. Roar. At this moment, a loud dragon roar sounded, shaking the 9 heavens and sweeping thousands of miles. Qin Yu tilted his head and saw that in the distant void, the battle with the dragon soul was also coming to an end. Tian Huan's cultivation was slightly stronger than Zhao Qiu's, but there was a limit to it. Under the current dragon soul, he was naturally no match for it and was easily suppressed. With Zhao Qiu and Tian Huan suppressed, the fate of the 10 top sovereigns of the Ghost Emperor Holy Island was obvious. Taishu Kong's strength was at the peak of the top sovereigns, and Pan Hong's cultivation was close to the mid-level of the Divine Emperor. Coupled with the monstrous killing array set up by Qin Yu, the 10 top sovereigns were killed one after another. Seeing this, Qin Yu did not hesitate in the slightest. He immediately began to search and refine Zhao Qiu's saint soul. But in the next moment, Qin Yu frowned slightly. Cake. Vaguely, there was a strange ghostly laughter. There was an ancient ghost curse in Zhao Qiu's saint soul. When Qin Yu's soul power invaded and was about to search Zhao Qiu's soul, the ancient ghost curse immediately exploded. Countless extremely ferocious evil spirits containing unparalleled ghost power appeared. Those evil spirits roared and raged, and in an instant, Zhao Qiu's saint soul was completely devoured. Then, those ferocious evil spirits turned into ghost curses and spontaneously combusted. Had it not been for Qin Yu's quick reaction, it was likely that Zhao Qiu's emperor's body would have been burnt to a crisp. Soul-controlling ghost curse? Qin Yu's eyes flashed slightly. He was no stranger to those ferocious evil spirits. This was a unique secret technique of the Ghost Emperor Zhentian, which could completely control a person's soul. However, Qin Yu did not expect that there would be a ghost curse in the soul sea of the divine emperors of the Ghost Emperor Holy Island. He even used a ghost curse to control his own people. The Ghost Emperor Zhentian is as ruthless as ever. With the sound of wind breaking, the dragon soul and Pan Hong Taishu Kong flew over. In their hands, they were all carrying the corpses of the Ghost Emperor Holy Island. But there were no soul fluctuations in those corpses at all. Obviously, these people's emperor souls were also spontaneously combusted by those ghost curses. It doesn't matter. In any case, I won't go to the central province for the time being. Although it was a pity, he could not get any detailed information of the Ghost Emperor Zhentian. However, Qin Yu's current focus was still to deal with those ancient emperors from the eastern continent. As for the heaven-suppressing Ghost Emperor and the other ancient emperors of the Central Plains, Qin Yu had plenty of time to investigate them in the future. After the skeleton Ghost King devoured Zhao Qiu and Tianhuan, as well as the corpses of the 10 peak experts, Qin Yu did not hesitate. He immediately rushed into the netherworld cold cave. Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian might have noticed that 2 divine emperors had died. Right now, Qin Yu had to immediately move Long Hao away. The situation was exactly as Qin Yu had anticipated. At practically the same moment when Zhao Qiu, Tianhuan and them ignited their holy souls, East Continent, Ghost Emperor Holy Island. In a bone palace filled with ghost chi, a figure that was sitting cross-legged in meditation suddenly opened his eyes. He was surrounded by a dense ghostly aura. A strong suction force appeared. In an instant, all the dense ghost chi was absorbed by the meditating figure. That person was wearing an ancient black robe. His eyes were gloomy and cold. Ghost runes covered his face. This person was none other than the Sky Suppression Ghost Emperor, who was famous in the Central Continent. Something happened to the people of the Cold Plains. Who is it? Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian's deep and cold eyes flashed with a gloomy light. After thinking for a moment, Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian stood up. His figure flashed and disappeared from the Bone Palace. At this time, Qin Yu, Taishu Kong, and Taishu Kong had already arrived at the place where Long Hao was sealed. Master, what should we do about the ghost curse in Junior Brother's body? After calling Long Hao out, Taishu Kong and Pan Hong both looked at Qin Yu. In order to suppress Long Hao's condition, they had tried countless methods. In the end, they found that the cold ghost chi in the cold nether cave could suppress the power of the ghost curse. Don't worry. I have a way. Qin Yu flicked his finger, and the cold ghost chi around Long Hao's body dissipated. Immediately, Long Hao's body shook violently. Shocking ghost runes spread out layer by layer. It was extremely terrifying. The ghost runes were so powerful that even the indestructible sword chi in Long Hao's body could not suppress them. Almost at the same time those ghost runes appeared, Qin Yu flicked his finger again. A gloomy cold horn appeared in Qin Yu's hand. As Qin Yu slightly broke the seal, a dense fog-like cold ghost chi immediately swept out. Seal. Qin Yu's heart moved, and all the cold ghost chi covered Long Hao's body. In the blink of an eye, Long Hao was completely sealed in ice. Even the space around him was frozen. Looking at it, Long Hao was like a piece of blue crystal that was several feet large. Roar. Suddenly, a faint roar of a beast could be heard from far away. Along with the beast's roar came a terrifying pressure that seemed to have materialized. What's that? Could it be that an ancient Emperor Realm expert has come? Taishu Kong and Pan Hong's faces changed drastically. The aura that swept over caused them to feel a sense of trepidation. It felt as if they were facing an enraged ancient Emperor Realm expert. Azure Ice Beast, is it? Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul's expressions were somewhat serious. That blue Qian Ice Beast was a living being that could kill even the former Dragon Emperor. Even an ancient Emperor Realm expert would not be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with it. Let's go. Without hesitation, the runes on Qin Yu's palm spread out, and he immediately created a teleportation array to leave. Rumble. Not long after Qin Yu and the other 2 teleported away, a destructive cold hurricane came. The labyrinthine cold cave that was thousands of miles deep was directly shattered by the cold hurricane. A huge crater that was tens of thousands of miles wide appeared on the cold plain, as if a meteorite had crashed down. Within the chilly hurricane, there was a 1,000-meter-tall ice beast that looked like a towering mountain peak. This giant ice beast seemed to be made of deep blue ice. Its entire body was translucent and glittered with a deep cold light. This giant ice beast was the Azure Ice Beast. After the Azure Ice Beast appeared, its eyes that were like a lake that was filled with cold ghost chi fell on a certain spot. That place was the place where Qin Yu took out the gloomy frigid single horn and sealed Long Hao in ice. The blue Qian Ice Beast had sensed the aura of the gloomy cold horn and immediately moved over. Unfortunately, the Azure Ice Beast's speed was too slow. Before Qin Yu came, he had expected this to happen, so he had teleported away. Just as the Azure Ice Beast was about to leave, its huge eyes suddenly looked in a certain direction. Its eyes that were filled with cold ghost chi flashed with a sharp light. Whoosh! After a few breaths, a sharp sound broke through the air, and a gloomy ghost chi swept across the sky. Immediately, the frost plains were divided into two worlds by the frost hurricanes and the rolling ghost chi. The person who had broken through the air was naturally the sky suppression ghost emperor who had used the teleportation array left in the East continent on the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island. Chapter 593. This pressure, Ghost Emperor Zhentian's pupils constricted when he saw the blue Qian ice beast. Ghost Emperor Zhentian felt a terrifying pressure from the mountain-like blue Qian ice beast. The pressure was so strong that even Ghost Emperor Zhentian, who was in the ancient emperor realm, felt his heart palpitate. Ghost Emperor Zhentian found it hard to believe. One had to know that his cultivation was at the peak of the ancient emperor realm. Even so, the blue Qian ice beast still made his heart palpitate. How strong was the blue Qian ice beast? Had it surpassed the 9th realm of the martial path? Creatures from the outer domain, a thought flashed through Ghost Emperor Zhentian's mind. Although the outer domain and the outer domain did not sound different, they had two completely different meanings. The outer domain referred to the territory of the outer domain demon race, just like the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain. The outer domain referred to the outer domain demon race and the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain. Very little was known about the outer domain, whether it was the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain or the outer domain demon race. They were extremely mysterious. However, according to the ancient records, creatures from the outer domain had appeared in the history of the heaven domain and the outer domain. Those creatures from the outer domain included the human race, the alien race, and even the divine weapons and immortal herbs. But without exception, all living beings that came from the outer realm possessed shocking strength. Thinking of this, Ghost Emperor Zhentian looked at the blue Qian ice beast with a burning gaze. The martial path in the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain was extremely prosperous, and the combat strength of the ancient emperor realm was gradually approaching that of the ancient era. However, no ancient emperor realm expert had reached the limit of the ancient emperor realm and could surpass the 9th realm of the martial path. In the past 1,000 years of the heaven domain, only one person had the potential to surpass the limit of the martial path. That person was the Dragon God Emperor, who was at the peak of the ancient emperor realm in the past. Other than that, neither Ghost Emperor Zhentian nor Xing Luo, who was ranked first in the emperor realm, had reached the limit of the martial path. Therefore, the blue Qian ice beast was definitely a creature from the outer domain. This was why Ghost Emperor Zhentian was so excited. It was the first time Ghost Emperor Zhentian had seen a real creature from the outer domain. If he could capture the blue Qian ice beast, he might be able to explore the path of cultivation after the 9th realm of the martial path. Roar. While the sky suppression Ghost Emperor was lost in his thoughts, the azure ice beast seemed to have sensed his hostility. Accompanied by an earth-shattering roar, the chilly hurricane suddenly howled and swept across the entire sky. Within the ghastly cold hurricane, there were a myriad of ghastly cold ancient talismans that were condensed and fluttering madly. In the next moment, all of the ancient cold talismans shot toward Ghost Emperor Zhentian at full speed. Ghost Way Secret Seal, unseal. Ghost Emperor Zhentian narrowed his eyes, but he didn't step back. An ancient seal appeared in each of his hands. The 2 ancient seals were completely black and covered with countless mysterious ghostly patterns. They exuded a vast aura of the ghost race. Myriad ghosts devour the heavens. After unsealing the Ghost Dao ancient seal, Ghost Emperor Zhentian yelled and 2 almost undetectable cracking sounds were heard. Following that, countless strange cries of ghosts could be heard as the 2 Ghost Dao ancient seals exploded with a loud boom. Countless evil spirits soared into the sky, accurately blocking the ancient talismans that were shooting toward them. Rumble, the ghastly cold talismans and the thousands of evil spirits clashed in the air, resulting in an earth-shattering explosion. The crater that was tens of thousands of miles wide on the ghastly plains was rapidly expanding. Ghost Emperor Zhentian was the strongest existence among the ancient emperors in the sky region. The Azure Ice Beast was the being that had killed the Dragon Emperor, who had created the Eternal Dragon Nation. The battle between the 2 of them could be said to have destroyed the heavens and the earth. Everything within 1,000,000 miles was completely destroyed. Luckily, there weren't many people on the ghastly plains. If it were anywhere else, it would be a disaster. At this moment, Qin Yu and the others, who had already teleported away from the ghastly plains, sensed the commotion. Roar. After exchanging several blows, the azure ice beast suddenly roared toward the sky, and an icy blue divine light pierced through the air. Not good. Ghost Emperor Zhentian's eyes narrowed as he immediately used his ultimate move to fight back. However, the azure ice beast was obviously going all out with this move. Wherever the icy blue divine light passed, the void was destroyed. The ghostly mist around Ghost Emperor Zhentian was destroyed inch by inch, and a huge bloody hole appeared on his body. Myriad Ghost Dao. The moment he was attacked, Ghost Emperor Zhentian formed a hand seal, and his entire body exploded into millions of wisps of ghostly mist. It is indeed an outer region Dao power that surpasses the sky region Dao power, but Ghost Chi condensed in the void thousands of miles away from the azure ice beast, and Ghost Emperor Zhentian appeared. Ghost Emperor Zhentian's face was pale, and his aura was weak. It was obvious that he was severely injured. However, Ghost Emperor Zhentian's eyes flashed. He didn't know what had happened. Ghost escape technique. When he saw the azure ice beast glowing with blue light again, Ghost Emperor Zhentian immediately fled. Ghost Emperor Zhentian was one of the strongest ancient emperors in the sky region. However, he couldn't do anything in front of the azure ice beast. In an instant, Ghost Emperor Zhentian, who had used his life-saving technique, released a ghostly mist that blocked everyone's vision. When the azure ice beast dispersed the ghostly mist, Ghost Emperor Zhentian was already gone. The azure ice beast looked in the direction of Ghost Emperor Zhentian, and then looked in the direction that Qin Yu had been teleported to. After a while, the azure ice beast turned into a beam of cold light and disappeared into the depths of the cold plains. As the cold blue wind howled and swept across, the battlefield that was once 1,000,000 kilometers wide was about to revert back to a land of ice. Looks like the battle is over. At this moment, Qin Yu jumped down from the top of a giant mountain outside the cold plains. Judging from the ripple, Ghost Emperor Zhentian must have come personally. I wonder who won the battle. The dragon soul beside Qin Yu asked curiously. Not only was it curious about Ghost Emperor Zhentian's cultivation, but it was also curious about the strength of the azure ice beast. Unless Ghost Emperor Zhentian has broken through the limits of the ancient emperor realm, he won't be a match for the azure ice beast. Qin Yu said. Ghost Emperor Zhentian was indeed one of the strongest in the sky region. However, compared to the blue Qian ice beast, there was a huge gap. After all, the azure ice beast was an existence that had killed the dragon emperor, who had become an immortal great dragon. An ancient emperor realm cultivator wouldn't be able to fight against such a powerful being. Qin Yu did not return to the sacred dragon sect after flying away from the mountain peak. Although Pam Hong's identity in the sacred dragon sect shouldn't have been discovered. But just in case, Qin Yu redeployed to a remote and safe place. With Qin Yu's emperor realm cultivation, even an ancient emperor realm cultivator wouldn't be able to detect his array. 3 days later, in the Array Rune Cave. Boom! An extremely tyrannical aura swept out, colliding with the surrounding runes, causing them to tremble incessantly. Qin Yu, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes and looked ahead. Peak 9th grade Emperor Realm? In front of Qin Yu was the Skeleton Ghost King with flesh and blood. The Skeleton Ghost King was the source of the terrifying aura. Chapter 594. Qin Yu was a little surprised to see the Skeleton Ghost King's cultivation increase. The Ghost Emperor Holy Island had 2 divine emperors and 10 top-notch emperors. The Skeleton Ghost King's cultivation had only broken through from the peak of the 8th grade Emperor Realm to the peak of the 9th grade Emperor Realm. This meant that it had only broken through by 1 level. Qin Yu originally thought that the Skeleton Ghost King would at least be able to break through to the Divine Emperor Realm. However, the speed of the Skeleton Ghost King's cultivation was far from what Qin Yu had expected. Swoosh! Qin Yu was about to explore the Skeleton Ghost King's body when a voice transmission talisman came. Master, the extraterritorial demon races 4 royal families and 9 royal families have all gathered at the ancient battlefield. After crushing the voice transmission talisman, Pan Hong's solemn voice sounded. The 4 royal families and 9 royal families have all moved out. The dragon soul appeared and asked in surprise. The extraterritorial realm was much larger than the Qingyun realm, and there were countless demons. However, among all the demons, the 4 royal families and 9 royal families were the most powerful. It could be said that these 13 royal families ruled over all the extraterritorial demon race. Now, these 13 overlords had all moved out and were preparing to invade the 9 states of the Qingyun realm. It was not an exaggeration to say that the extraterritorial demon race had moved out in full force. It seems that the extraterritorial demon race's invasion this time can't be underestimated. Qin Yu's eyes flickered slightly. He had not spread the news about the primordial divine power. In the entire spiritual state, only the heavenly imperial palace knew about it. The extraterritorial demon race had moved out in full force. It was obvious that the plan of the primordial divine power had been completed. From Pan Hong's information, the Qingyun realm seemed to have known about it long ago. This time, the lineup was extremely shocking. The top powerhouses of the 9 states had all moved out. However, if the forces of the 9 states of the Qingyun realm did not know about the primordial divine power, they would definitely suffer a great loss. The 9 states of the Qingyun realm and the extraterritorial demon race had a blood feud that could not be resolved for tens of thousands of years. If there was a chance, both sides would want to completely wipe each other out and end it once and for all. Therefore, once the extraterritorial demon race's invasion succeeded, what awaited the Qingyun realm would be a disaster. This time, will the 10,000 monarch battle repeat itself? The dragon soul had followed Qin Yu in his previous life and experienced countless dangers and battles. However, he had only encountered fatal danger twice. This time, it was naturally when Xing Luo had betrayed him and joined forces with the 12 ancient emperors in the immortal god graveyard. The other time was the 10,000 emperors war between the 9 continents of the heaven domain and the extraterritorial demon race. What was the scale of that battle? Only divine emperors were qualified to participate in the battle. The so-called 10,000 emperors were all ancient emperors and divine emperors. That battle could be said to be the biggest loss the Qingyun realm had suffered in the past 10,000 years. Of course, it was the same for the Xeno race as well. After that great war, the 9 continents of the heaven realm and the extraterritorial demon clan had enjoyed hundreds of years of peace. During the 10,000 Theches War, Qin Yu was surrounded by a few extraterritorial devil races' divine ancestors. Although Qin Yu had killed several sacred ancestors by himself, he had also suffered fatal injuries. If Xing Luo had not saved him, Qin Yu would have died in that battle. It was because of that life-or-death relationship that Qin Yu had been betrayed by Xing Luo. Let's go take a look first. Qin Yu threw this question to the back of his mind. Even if the sky collapsed, there would be someone tall to hold it up. The ones who would have a headache were the top ancient emperors of the heaven domain. The primordial divine power had appeared for so long that the people of the 9 continents of the heaven domain should have noticed it. Immediately, Qin Yu left the formation cave and rushed to the spirit state. Heaven domain, spirit state. At the border of the spirit state, there was a barren area that covered tens of millions of miles. That area was filled with murky air currents. From the murky air currents, one could sense the pure spiritual qi and detect the evil demonic qi. This was the spiritual qi of the heaven domain and the demonic qi of the extraterritorial realm. The heaven domain cultivators could not absorb this spiritual qi, and the Xeno race could not refine it. If they absorbed it, it would interfere with their true qi and demonic qi. This barren area was called the demon spirit territory. After passing through this demon spirit hell, one would reach the extraterritorial battlefield. The extraterritorial battlefield's environment was even more cruel and harsh than the demon spirit territory. Even martial emperors could not stay in the extraterritorial battlefield for long. At the very least, one needed to be at the emperor realm to be able to go to the extraterritorial battlefield. In the sky of the demon spirit territory, ancient palaces and buildings floated. From those palaces and buildings, there was a monstrous aura that spread out. It caused the void within a radius of millions of miles to be suppressed by that aura. Under those palaces, there was a dense array of ancient runes that separated the demon spirit qi. One could clearly see that there were countless figures in those ancient runes. Those figures were arranged neatly, and at a glance, there was no end to them. These were the cultivators of the 9 continents of the heaven domain. The terrifying aura of those palaces and buildings naturally belonged to the top masters of the 9 continents of the heaven domain. At this moment, in one of the palaces, there were 39 ancient emperors gathered together. If Qin Yu was here, he would definitely recognize them as the old faces from thousands of years ago. As for Qin Yu's enemies from his previous life, there were 11 ancient emperors, except for Ghost Emperor Zhentian, God Emperor Xian Yu, 7-star Ancient Emperor, 4 Symbols Dao Emperor, North Emperor Luan, and the others were all present. These people were the leaders of the 9 continents of the heaven domain's immortal inheritances and ancient holy lands. Xiu. After about a moment, a gust of eerie ghost qi appeared, and a figure appeared in the divine palace. It was a middle-aged man in a black robe. Ghost runes covered his entire face. Looking at the symbol on his body, he was from the Ghost Emperor Holy Island. "I'm really sorry. There was an accident on the way here, so I'm late." After the middle-aged man in the black robe arrived, he smiled and cupped his fists to the ancient emperors of the divine palace to apologize. "Gui Ya? Why didn't old Ghost Zhentian come personally for such a big event?" Among the 39 ancient emperors, the 4 Symbols Dao Emperor in a Daoist robe raised his eyebrows slightly. The middle-aged man from the Black faction was a well-known figure in the Middle Continent. His name was Gui Ya, and his emperor title was Gui Sho Emperor. He was the Vice-Island Master of the Ghost Emperor Holy Island. The Island Master is still in seclusion, so he asked me to act on behalf of the Holy Island. Gui Ya could only smile in response to the 4 Symbols Dao Emperor's question. Although he was also an ancient emperor, it was still not enough in this situation. After all, a newly advanced ancient emperor was not on the same level as an older ancient emperor. Otherwise, there would be more than 30 to 40 ancient emperors in the 9 continents of the heaven domain. For Symbol's old man, everyone should be here, right? What's the matter? Can you tell me now? The Dao Emperor of 4 Symbols wanted to say something, but an impatient voice interrupted him. Chapter 595. The person who spoke was surrounded by multicolored light, and there was a translucent white jade horn between his eyebrows. An incomparably sacred aura emanated from his body, shaking the hearts of those who saw it. Heavenly Qilin Saint Emperor was one of the 4 great demon emperors of the West Continent. He was as famous as the Demon Emperor Monarch. The war with the extraterritorial demon race was imminent, but he had been summoned by the 4 Symbols Dao Emperors. Heavenly Qilin Saint Emperor, who had always been at odds with the ancient emperors of the Middle Continent, was naturally unhappy. The other ancient emperors also looked at the 4 Symbols Dao Emperors, Gui Ya, and the others. There were a total of 7 ancient emperors leading this gathering. They were Sky Suppression Ghost Emperor, 4 Symbols Dao Emperor, Ancient Mystic Demonic Emperor, Blood Fiend Spirit Emperor, Imperial Void Heavenly Emperor, Heaven Spitesword Emperor, and Underworld Mystic Emperor. These 7 were the top ancient emperors of the Middle Continent of the heaven domain. The 7 of them joining forces was definitely a big deal that would affect the entire heaven domain. It was also because of this that they were able to gather all the older ancient emperors. Otherwise, if it was just the 4 Symbols Dao Emperor alone, it would be impossible to gather all the older ancient emperors. The 7 of us have gathered all of you here because we have a plan that can solve the problem of the extraterritorial demon race once and for all. A calm voice sounded, and the golden-robed Imperial Void Heavenly Emperor stood up. Solve the extraterritorial demon race once and for all? Hearing the Imperial Void Heavenly Emperor's words, the other ancient emperors looked at each other. Wasn't the Imperial Void Heavenly Emperor's words a little too big? The extraterritorial demon race and the 9 continents of the heaven domain had been at odds for countless years. These ancient emperors had a deep understanding of the extraterritorial demon race's strength. It was just like how the extraterritorial demon race couldn't invade the 9 continents of the heaven domain. It was also impossible for the martial artists of the heaven domain to completely destroy the extraterritorial demon race. Of course, a certain price must be paid to realize this plan. Seeing the disbelief of the ancient emperors, one of the 7 ancient emperors, Heaven Spitesword Emperor, spoke up. "What's your plan? Just say it directly." Imperial Void Heavenly Emperor, Luan Northern Ancient Emperor. Since they were all ancient emperors, they didn't think that they would be any weaker than the ancient emperors of the Central Plains. But Heavenly Emperor Yushu, Heaven-hating Sword Emperor, and the rest clearly treated them as helpers. This made Northern Emperor Luan somewhat displeased. Everyone should know that in the 9 prefectures of the Heaven Domain, there are divine veins of fate that can affect the 9 prefectures' fate. The divine meridian of destiny is extremely important to the 9 provinces, especially to us ancient emperors. There's also a divine vein in the extraterritorial devil race, and it's related to the survival of the extraterritorial devil race. The extraterritorial devil race's divine vein is called the origin devil vein. Have you heard of it? When the 4 symbols Tao Emperor heard this, he didn't beat around the bush. Origin demon vein? Rumor has it that it's the source of the extraterritorial devil chi? The 7-star ancient emperor seemed to have thought of something and exclaimed in surprise. According to ancient records, the origin demon vein was the source of all demon chi in the outer realms. However, whether or not the origin demon vein really existed had always been a mystery. Because until now, no one had been able to confirm this. That's right. Due to some coincidences, the spies we sent to the extraterritorial devil race discovered the location of the origin demon vein. Therefore, the invasion of the extraterritorial devil race this time is an excellent opportunity for us. The extraterritorial devil race would never expect us to enter the extraterritorial devil realm and attack their origin demon vein during their invasion. Heavenly Emperor Yushu nodded as he spoke. Hearing this, all the ancient emperors in the divine palace were moved. If they could successfully destroy the origin demon vein of the extraterritorial devil race, then the extraterritorial devil race would completely decline. After all, the divine vein of fate in the heaven domain only affected the 9 prefectures' fate. The origin demon vein of the extraterritorial devil race was the source of demon chi. Once the origin demon vein was destroyed, the extraterritorial devil race would lose their demon chi and would be unable to cultivate. This was absolutely fatal. You've already made your arrangements. What's the plan? The great Sun Demon Emperor looked at the 4 symbols Tao Emperor and the other ancient emperors. From the expressions of the Tao Emperors of 4 symbols and the others, it was clear that this gathering was just to inform them. I'm sure you're all curious as to why the extraterritorial devil race is attacking in full force this time, right? Tao Emperor of 4 symbols nodded and asked again. Is it related to the primordial divine power? The Emperor Taiyang looked around and spoke slowly. It seems that everyone has also noticed. In that case, I'll be frank. The primordial divine power relic appeared in the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain because of the extraterritorial devil race's plan. According to the information we've received, the extraterritorial devil race has the means to control the primordial divine power. Therefore, the extraterritorial devil race launched this war to use the primordial divine power to completely destroy all cultivators below the ancient emperor realm in the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain. Tao Emperor of 4 symbols nodded. The extraterritorial devil race can control the primordial divine power? Hearing this, other than the Tao Emperors of 4 symbols and the other ancient emperors became serious. They all knew that the primordial divine power could increase one's cultivation after fusing with true Yuan. It was also because of this that they had wantonly plundered the primordial divine power when it had just been born. It could be said that almost all the cultivators under the ancient emperors had fused with the primordial divine power. If the extraterritorial devil race could control the primordial divine power, it was no different from a disaster to them. The rest of the ancient emperors only looked solemn. However, the 7-star ancient emperor's face changed. Fortunately, the 7-star ancient emperor's expression returned to normal in an instant, and no one noticed. Heavenly Emperor Yushu, you said that we had to pay a certain price. Don't tell me you want our disciples to be bait. One of the ancient emperors finally understood what was going on and spoke with an unsightly expression. Since the Tao Emperors of 4 symbols and Heavenly Emperor Yushu already knew that the extraterritorial devil race could control the primordial divine power, they wouldn't do it. They definitely wouldn't let their disciples fuse with the primordial divine power. The price that Heavenly Emperor Yushu spoke of would likely have to be borne by them. The other ancient emperors also looked at the 7 great ancient emperors. Although they didn't say anything, their expressions were obvious. If that was really the case, they wouldn't be so foolish as to send their disciples to their deaths. They had many martial emperors, and divine emperors under them, and they were all people with outstanding talents. They had high hopes for these ancient emperors, and they might be able to produce ancient emperors in the future. They would never agree to use their disciples as bait to send them to their deaths. The reason why they had sent their disciples here was to let them gain experience. This plan concerns the future of the entire 9 prefectures in the heaven domain. No one can stay out of it. Naturally, we will contribute. This is the specific plan that the 7 of us have decided on. You can take a look first. If you have any questions, you can ask in advance. The Tao emperors of 4 symbols, Heavenly Emperor Yushu, Heaven-hating Sword Emperor, and the others all spoke. As soon as they finished speaking, jade talismans appeared in front of the ancient emperors. Chapter 596. After crushing the jade talisman, the ancient emperors in the godly palace saw the plan of the 7 ancient emperors. After seeing the plan, the ancient emperors in the godly palace had no objections. After all, the 7 ancient emperors would send many of their disciples to their deaths as bait. In terms of price, it wasn't much less than theirs. More importantly, they would destroy the origin demon vein. Other than Ghost Emperor Zhentian, the other 6 ancient emperors would go to the extraterritorial realm personally. The origin demon vein is as important as life to the extraterritorial demon race. The extraterritorial demon race would definitely have a large number of troops guarding it. Why don't we get the Mad Dragon the Arch as well? Emperor Qian, he asked the 7 Tao emperors of 4 symbols after seeing the plan. Many of the ancient emperors nodded in agreement. Although they were all ancient emperors, they had to admit that since the Dragon the Arch disappeared thousands of years ago, the Mad Dragon the Arch and Xing Luo's battle strength were rarely matched among the ancient emperors. Many people even thought that the Mad Dragon the Arch was the strongest ancient emperor in the 9 states of the heaven realm. If the Mad Dragon the Arch joined this operation, the success rate would be much higher. For some reason, the Mad Dragon the Arch has been in Shenron all these years. Even if he shows up occasionally, he disappears immediately. It's impossible to contact him. The Tao emperors of 4 symbols shook their heads. If possible, they naturally wanted to find the strongest ancient emperor, the Mad Dragon the Arch. However, there was nothing they could do if they couldn't find him. Emperor Qian, he and the others didn't say anything else. They had also heard the rumors about the Mad Dragon Sovereign in the past few years. What should we do with the forces of the spiritual state? Emperor Tian asked at this moment. The spiritual state, hearing Emperor Tian's words, the ancient emperors in the godly palace fell silent. Since we're going to put on a show, we have to go all out. We've already paid the price, so the forces of the spiritual state can't be an exception. The Tao emperors of 4 symbols and the others didn't hesitate. It was obvious that they had discussed this beforehand. If we do that, we'll go against the oath that our ancestors made for the spiritual king. An ancient emperor said hesitantly. Hearing the 2 words Spirit King, the expressions of the ancient emperors in the divine palace changed. There was respect, fear, and yearning. Among the 9 states in the heaven realm, the spiritual state's overall martial arts level was undoubtedly the weakest. This was because even if the other 8 prefectures did not have any ancient emperors, they would still have many divine emperors, so they had a strong foundation. On the other hand, in the spirit state, even the top forces in the 4 regions of the spirit state only had top-notch sovereigns, and divine sovereigns would only appear occasionally. However, more than 20,000 years ago, the spiritual state was the most powerful force in the 9 states, and even the central state was no match for it. In that era, the spirit state was ruled by one person. That person called himself the Spirit King, and there were many ancient emperors and divine emperors in the spirit state. At that time, the Spirit King was very ambitious. The powers of the 9 states of the heaven domain also thought that the Spirit King would unify the 9 states of the heaven domain in the future and become the only king of the heaven domain. However, before the Spirit King could take action, he encountered the invasion of the extraterritorial devil clan. The strength of the extraterritorial devil clan seemed to be closely related to the 9 states of the heaven domain. When the spirit state had a spirit king who could unify the heaven domain, a brilliant genius also appeared among the extraterritorial devil clan, and he was called the ancestor of all devil. The ancestor of all devils led the extraterritorial devil clan to invade the heaven domain, and the spirit king led the 9 states of the heaven domain to resist. The intensity of that battle could only be seen from various ancient books. In the end, the 9 states of the heaven domain paid a heavy price, and it seemed that they could not stop the invasion of the extraterritorial devil clan. The spirit king used a forbidden technique to open the chaotic turbulence, and threw the ancestor of all devils and the extraterritorial devil clan into the chaotic turbulence, disappearing without a trace. Of course, the spirit king also disappeared in the chaotic turbulence because of this, and he never appeared again. Therefore, this invasion ended with the heaven domain and the extraterritorial devil clan paying a heavy price. After that great battle, the top experts of the spirit state were all dead, and the highest level experts were only martial emperors. The surviving ancient emperors of the other 8 states of the heaven domain jointly swore not to invade the spirit state, and to console the spirit king and other experts for making such a huge sacrifice for the 9 states of the heaven domain. Those who violated the oath would be killed together, even if it had been more than 20,000 years since that great battle. Those ancient emperors who were lucky enough to survive had established their own sects and clans, becoming the strongest forces in the heaven region. But still, no one dared to violate the oath they had made in the past. This was why no one had ever coveted the spirit state, even though ancient emperor realm masters often came and went from the spirit state. Of course, the ancient emperors were so firm in their promises, and besides the oath their ancestors had made, there was another important reason. More than 10,000 years ago, the most famous ancient emperor of the heaven domain had divined the spirit king's life and death, and the result was that the spirit king was not dead. That ancient emperor of the heaven domain had died suddenly after the divination, and this was a heavy wake-up call to the major forces of the heaven domain. Now that the extraterritorial devil clan is invading, we naturally have to use special methods to shut down the machine. What's more, we don't want to occupy the spirit state, and it is normal for the spirit state to contribute to the resistance against the extraterritorial devil clan. The Tao Emperor of the 4 symbols said after a moment of silence. They had already decided on something, and naturally would not give up so easily. The other ancient emperors looked at each other, and no one had any objections. After all, they would have to pay a huge price for this operation. Everyone should already know the plan. Then, go ahead and prepare. Heavenly Emperor Yushu stood up and said. Immediately, other than Heavenly Emperor Yushu and the other ancient emperors disappeared from the palace. While the top veteran emperors of the 9 states of the heaven domain were gathered for a discussion. In the depths of the demon spirit area, in the chaos, 2 figures appeared without any warning. If Qin Yu was here, he would definitely recognize the person on the left. It was the mad dragon sovereign, Xing Luo. In the eyes of the ancient emperors of the heaven domain, Xing Luo, who was rarely seen in Shenron, actually took the initiative to come to the demon spirit area. As for the person on the right, he was dressed in linen clothes and was surrounded by a layer of mysterious light, and his appearance could not be seen clearly. In the distance in front of the 2 of them, boundless demonic chi could be seen rolling, and a monstrous demonic might swept across the sky. The place where the boundless demonic chi was rolling was the extraterritorial battlefield. The reason why the demonic chi was so dense was because countless extraterritorial devil clans had gathered there. The extraterritorial devil clans have arranged for the primordial divine power, and the heaven domain cultivators know about the demonic origin vein. Both sides are scheming against each other, but I don't know whose methods are better. Looking at the demonic chi getting denser and denser, the grey-robed person said with interest. Although his appearance could not be seen clearly, this person's voice was clear, and he was obviously not very old. You didn't come all the way here just to watch the invasion, right? Xing Luo's expression did not change, as if he did not care about the outcome of this battle. Chapter 597. I'm here this time because an immortal king token has appeared. Speaking of this, the grey-robed man's tone became much more solemn. Immortal king token? The blood elementalist who escaped from the outer region has finally appeared. However, Xing Luo's face lit up. Regarding the immortal king tokens, be it the martial artists of the heaven region or the outer realm devils, there were very few who knew about them. However, the ancient immortal tokens were something that the ancient emperors of the heaven region were familiar with. Of course, even the ancient emperors of the 9 provinces of the heaven region had heard of them. In fact, some of them had even obtained an ancient immortal token. However, no one knew the true secret of the 8 ancient immortal tokens. Among the 8 ancient immortal tokens, there was one that was especially important. One could sense the location of the other ancient immortal tokens. As long as one could obtain that ancient immortal token, finding the other ancient immortal tokens would not be a problem. It was a pity that the blood elementalist who had obtained the core ancient immortal token had completely disappeared after escaping to the heaven region. Even if one used a secret technique to summon the other 7 ancient immortal tokens, without the core ancient immortal token, it would be useless. Now that the blood elementalist had appeared, Xing Luo was naturally excited. Previously, that blood elementalist appeared out of nowhere. However, I did not sense any immortal king token fluctuations from him. If I'm not wrong, the immortal king token should have been hidden by him. The grey-robed man said. If that's the case, then we just have to capture him. Xing Luo was getting more and more excited. That blood elementalist is someone who once turned the blood domain upside down. Even if his cultivation is worlds apart from his peak, it won't be that easy to capture him. The grey-robed man shook his head slightly. Since you're here, you should have thought of a plan, right? Xing Luo asked. Don't worry. That blood elementalist is here for the immortal king's legacy. It's only a matter of time before he makes his move. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. We just have to keep an eye on the immortal trove. The grey-robed man smiled sinisterly. If that's the case, then why are we still taking the risk to scout the outer realm devils? When Xing Luo heard about the celestial king's inheritance and the celestial treasury, the fire in his eyes burned even brighter. However, he was also a bit curious about the grey-robed man's strange actions. There's a passageway to the outer domain in the extraterritorial devil race. Just in case, it's better to take a look. Otherwise, that blood elementalist would have escaped long ago. The grey-robed man said indifferently. Xing Luo's eyes flickered, but he didn't say anything else. Although this grey-robed man was not trustworthy, they had each other's weakness, so there was no need to worry about the other party playing any tricks in the dark. While Xing Luo and the mysterious grey-robed man were discussing the matter of the ancient immortal medallion, 3 more figures appeared at the border of the spiritual state. Qin Yu was no stranger to the 3 of them. They were the Jiang siblings and the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal. For some reason, the relationship between the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal and the Jiang siblings seemed to have become quite good. The 3 of them flew all the way until they reached the end of the Devil Spirit territory and hid at the edge of the extraterritorial battlefield. This was because in front of the 3 of them was a vast extraterritorial devil army with no end in sight. The extraterritorial devil army had already advanced to the boundary of the battlefield set up by the 9 states of heaven. It seems that we have to wait for the war to really erupt before we can go over. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal slightly sensed and restrained his aura even more thoroughly. The extraterritorial devil race's 4 royal families and 9 royal families had moved out together. Their battle strength was so terrifying that even Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, who now had the battle strength to fight against an ancient emperor, didn't dare to charge head-on. The Jiang siblings knew the severity of the situation and didn't act rashly. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, are you sure that the Spirit King's aura exists among the extraterritorial devil race? While waiting, Jiang Yuani asked Sky Barrier Sword Immortal through a secret voice transmission. Don't worry. I've received the Spirit King's legacy, so I can't be wrong. As for whether the Spirit King is still alive, I'm not sure. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal said with certainty, but his words were extremely shocking. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal had received the Spirit King's legacy. If this news spread, countless ancient emperors would be shocked. I hope you're telling the truth. Jiang Yuanyi and Jiang Qingyu looked at each other and didn't ask any more questions. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal looked at the Jiang siblings with some concern. Before joining forces with the Jiang siblings, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal had naturally investigated their identities. However, the Jiang siblings had broken through the void and disappeared 30,000 years ago and had only reincarnated now. The Spirit King had only appeared 20,000 years ago. The Jiang siblings and the Spirit King had been separated by 10,000 years. What was the relationship between them? Of course, curiosity aside, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal didn't pry. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal had his own reasons for going to the extraterritorial realm this time. Joining forces with the Jiang siblings was just a precaution. The extraterritorial battlefield was barren and barren. At this moment, the barren and empty extraterritorial battlefield was occupied by the vast and mighty extraterritorial devil army. The extraterritorial devil race was led by the 4 great imperial families and the 9 great imperial families. It could be said that these 13 behemoths ruled the entire extraterritorial devil race. Therefore, compared to the restless heaven region warriors, the extraterritorial devil army, which had a clear hierarchy, wasn't affected at all. In the center of the extraterritorial devil army, a ferocious demon with 3 giant wolf heads that covered the sky and covered the sun was entrenched. Hell Demon Wolf. This was a primordial demon. Its ancestor had once wreaked havoc in the world and had a terrifying bloodline. However, there were 13 black shadows with shocking auras gathered on top of this Hell Demon Wolf. Since this primordial demon, whose combat strength was comparable to the ancient emperor's, was willing to become its mount, the identities of these 13 black shadows were obvious. The extraterritorial devil race consisted of the 4 great imperial families and the 9 great imperial families. Everyone, this invasion battle concerns the survival of billions of extraterritorial living beings. Therefore, we must win this battle. Even if we have to sacrifice our lives, we must seize the spirit state. A deep and dignified voice came from a cloud of black fog. As the voice sounded, the black fog gradually dissipated. A burly man who looked no different from a human but had 3 eyes appeared. This man was the Celestial Demon Emperor, the leader of the Celestial Demon Clan, one of the 4 great imperial families of the extraterritorial devil race. The 4 great imperial families were the Celestial Demon Clan, the Nether Demon Clan, the Soul Demon Clan, and the War Demon Clan. Among the 4 great imperial families, there were more than 100 saint ancestors who had stepped into the ancient emperor realm. However, only the leaders of the 4 great imperial families could be crowned with the title of emperor. The 9 great imperial families were the Nefarious Demon Clan, the Ghost Demon Clan, the Learning Module Clan, the Heart Demon Clan, the Spirit Demon Clan, the Ice Demon Clan, the Star Demon Clan, the Winged Demon Clan, and the Devouring Demon Clan. The leaders of the 9 great imperial families were called imperial families. Celestial Demon Emperor, your clan has guarded the origin demon vein for generations and knows the situation of the origin demon vein best. Is there no way to repair the weakening of the origin demon vein? The Nefarious King of the Nefarious Demon Clan asked in a hoarse voice. The other demon emperors also looked at the Celestial Demon Emperor. Chapter 598. Although the extraterritorial demon clans were constantly fighting among themselves, it was just natural selection in the lower realms. The top 4 royal families and the 9 royal families didn't have any grudges against each other. Although they weren't on good terms, they didn't have many grudges. Especially now, the origin demon vein was related to the life and death of the entire demon clan. Naturally, they wouldn't fight among themselves. The corrosive power of the extraterritorial channel is too strong and terrifying. The power of the origin demon vein can't resist it at all. Our clan has sacrificed 4 ancestors, but they can't do anything. The Celestial Demonic Emperor looked around solemnly. If this continues, the origin demon vein will disappear completely in 1,000 years. 1,000 years. Hearing the Celestial Demonic Emperor's words, all the demon emperors looked solemn. They all knew that the origin demon vein was constantly weakening, but they didn't expect the development of the origin demon vein to be so much more serious than they thought. 1,000 years sounded long, but for divine ancestors like them, it would be over after 1 or 2 seclusion sessions. Once the origin demon vein dried up and disappeared, the billions of extraterritorial demon clans would be in trouble. It seemed that invading the 9 states in the heaven domain in advance was the best and only way out. There was no demon chi in the 9 states for the extraterritorial demon clans to cultivate. However, the spiritual chi in the heaven domain could be turned into demon chi. This was why the extraterritorial demon clans usually invaded the 9 states. The 9 states rarely took the initiative to attack. Even if the martial artists of the heaven domain attacked the extraterritorial demon clans, they couldn't stay long without spiritual chi to cultivate. Even the demon cultivators of the heaven domain couldn't absorb the demon chi of the extraterritorial demon clans. Whoosh! At this moment, a black light broke through the void and appeared in front of the celestial demonic emperor. The celestial demonic emperor crushed the black light, and a mysterious message immediately appeared in his mind. The plan is ready. We can act now. The celestial demonic emperor sneered and immediately gave the order. Swoosh! Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, all the demon emperors on the back of the purgatory demon wolf, except for the celestial demonic emperor, disappeared. The celestial demonic emperor moved his right hand, and a huge ancient map appeared in his hand. The ancient map emitted a black demon chi and energy fluctuation. It was the fluctuation of ancient godly power. Ha! The celestial devil emperor shouted, and a vast sea of pure devil chi poured into the ancient diagram. The ancient diagram immediately swelled up and instantly covered the sky. Numerous ancient and profound devilish markings spread out and covered all the outer realm devils in the outer realm battlefield. The extraterritorial devil race actually used such an extreme method this time? What kind of shock did he receive? At the end of the demon spirit zone, near the border of the extraterritorial battlefield, heaven-burying sword Immortal's eyes narrowed slightly as a strange light flickered in his eyes. Although heaven-burying sword Immortal was an almighty existence from the previous era, he had resisted the extraterritorial devil race many times in his life and was no stranger to the invasion of the extraterritorial devil race. The method that the extraterritorial devil race had adopted had truly exceeded his expectations. Jiang Yuanyi and Jiang Qingyu, on the other hand, did not show any reaction. They were all people from tens of thousands of years ago. Although they had returned from reincarnation, their families and friends were no longer there. Things remained the same, but people had changed. They didn't care about the safety of the 9 continents of the heaven domain at all. Whoosh! When the extraterritorial devil race was covered by the sky-blotting devil runes, a faint ray of bloody light flickered and disappeared from the devil spirit domain. In the devil spirit domain, the 9 continents of the heaven domain, where the warrior alliance army was stationed. Palace Master, even the forces of the spiritual state are mobilized this time. Are those ancient emperors of the central state going back on the oath of their ancestors? In the spiritual state's encampment, the upper echelons of the spiritual state's overlord forces and the heavenly emperor palace gathered together. The one who spoke was Sun Jiuxiao. As one of the top forces of the spiritual state, the heavenly emperor palace naturally knew about the former spiritual king. After all, the extraterritorial devil race has almost turned out in full force, and the entire 9 continents of the heaven domain is in danger. Even the people of the godly land have appeared. Our spiritual state naturally can't stay out of it. Sitting on the main seat, Shi Tiangong's expression was rather grave. He had long known that the extraterritorial devil race would definitely make a big move. However, he still didn't expect the extraterritorial devil race to invade on such a large scale. Fortunately, the bloodlines in our bodies have been ignited. Otherwise, we would really be used as cannon fodder in a war of this level. Sun Yunlang said rather rejoicingly. Ever since Qin Yu refined the immortal emperor pill, the descendants of the 3 sovereigns in the heavenly emperor palace had all ignited their bloodlines. Now, Shi Tiangong's aura was that of a high-level divine sovereign. Even in the 9 continents of the heaven domain, he was definitely considered one of the top. After all, above the high-level divine sovereign, there were only those existences in the ancient emperor realm. In addition to Shi Tiangang, Sun Jiuxiao, Sun Yunlang, and the other core descendants of the 3 sovereigns had all reached the mid-level divine sovereign. Currently, there were as many as 5 divine sovereigns in the heavenly emperor palace. In the entire spiritual state, there was no force that could be compared to them. After the bloodlines of the three sovereigns were awakened, the terrifying potential contained within was fully displayed at this time. Palace Master, what should we do with the myriad martial sect? A descendant of Emperor Shi asked Shi Tiangang. It had been quite a long time since the Heavenly Emperor Palace had produced divine sovereigns. With the current strength of the Heavenly Emperor Palace, it was not difficult for them to unify the four regions of the spiritual state. However, they had only been secretly deploying forces and had not attacked the forces of the spiritual state. The main reason was the myriad martial sect. The myriad martial sect was obviously related to the extraterritorial demon race. If the Heavenly Emperor Palace acted rashly, it might attract the attention of the extraterritorial demon race. Because of this, the Heavenly Emperor Palace had not acted rashly. In the end, before they could do anything, the extraterritorial demon race had already invaded. Now, the myriad martial sect had also been summoned to fight against the extraterritorial demon race. This made the Heavenly Emperor Palace and the others a little worried. If the myriad martial sect betrayed them at the critical moment, it would cause a lot of damage to the forces of the Heaven Domain. I have already informed the ancient emperors of the Middle Continent about this matter. They should be prepared. Shi Tiangang said slowly. If that's the case, then we don't have to worry too much. Sun Yunlang said. Boom. While the Heavenly Emperor Palace and the others were still discussing with each other, an earth-shattering sound came from the distant horizon, majestic and mighty. The entire demon spirit region violently shook, as if the sky was collapsing. What happened? Could it be that the extraterritorial demon race has broken through the boundary between the extraterritorial battlefield and the demonic spirit land? No, this fluctuation is coming from the center of the demonic spirit land. What's going on? Why would the extraterritorial demon race appear directly in the center of the demonic spirit land? Countless Heaven Domain martial artists gathered in the demonic spirit land were extremely shocked. Countless figures flew into the sky. Chapter 599. The Outer Realm Devil Race actually set up such a teleportation formation in the Devil Spirit area and teleported the entire Devil Race here. Looks like the Outer Realm Devil Race has placed many spies among us. We're in trouble now. The extraterritorial demons' move disrupted our deployment and separated us from the forces in the spiritual state. We can't coordinate with each other. The extraterritorial devil race is really determined to invade this time. The ones who reacted the fastest were the ancient emperors of the 9 continents of the Heaven Domain. The extraterritorial devil race's teleportation was completely out of the expectations of the Heaven Domain's warriors. After all, the invasions of the extraterritorial devil race in the past were only between the extraterritorial devil race and the Heaven Domain martial artists. At most, they could only break through the barrier of the devil spirit territory. However, the actions of the extraterritorial devil race this time were too abnormal, extremely abnormal. Although we have to pay a huge price, the fish has taken the bait. Everyone, let's act according to plan. The 4 symbols Dao Emperors, Celestial Emperor Yushu, and the others exchanged glances and immediately split into 2 groups. The 7 ancient emperors instantly disappeared from the ancient palace. The other ancient emperors also flew out of the stone palace. With the appearance of the ancient emperors, order was restored to the Sky Domain's army, which had been disrupted by the arrival of the extraterritorial demon race. The ancient emperor realm was the pinnacle of the Heaven Domain. Now that a group of ancient emperors had appeared, they would naturally be able to calm the chaotic hearts of the people. The extraterritorial demon race is trying to encroach on our homeland in 9 regions. We must not let the demon race attack. Everyone, follow me and exterminate these demons. Kill. Immediately, the mighty army of Qingyun realm warriors changed their plan. They turned back and charged toward the extraterritorial demons who had been teleported to the center of the demon spirit area. Although the actions of the extraterritorial demon race had caused the Heaven Domain cultivators to be unable to respond to them, they were still able to do so. However, from another perspective, the extraterritorial demon army had also fallen into the encirclement of the Heaven Domain warriors. It was hard to say who would win and who would lose. Rumble. The army of the extraterritorial demon clan and the martial artists of the 9 continents of the heaven domain met in an instant. Both sides did not hesitate at all as they charged at each other. With the border between the demon spirit territory and the extraterritorial battlefield as the center, the area within a radius of tens of millions of miles instantly became a battlefield of destruction. The extraterritorial demon race had sent out more than 1,000 ancient emperors to invade this time. Although there were only a few of them, they were comparable to the celestial demonic emperor and the other 13 emperors. However, this kind of battle prowess was enough to destroy the world. The 9 prefectures of the sky domain weren't any weaker. At the very least, their ancient emperors weren't suppressed by the extraterritorial demon race. The battle between thousands of ancient emperors caused the heavens to crumble, the earth to crack inch by inch, and everything to be destroyed. Outside the battlefield, Qin Yu, who had disguised himself, appeared from the void. He stood high up in the void and did not get involved in the destructive battle. The scale of this battle is probably the strongest battle between the heaven domain and the demon clan, other than the 10,000 Emperors' War. Within the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul spoke. The scale of the Xenorace invasion this time had exceeded their expectations. Ever since the 10,000 Monarchs' War, the heaven domain and the extraterritorial region had not fought like this for a long time. The extraterritorial demon race is obviously going to invade the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain. Could it be that something has happened to the extraterritorial demon race? Qin Yu looked at the destructive and chaotic battle quietly. His eyes flashed with a thoughtful look. The extraterritorial demon race's strange actions made him feel that something was wrong. However, suddenly, the expressions of Qin Yu and the dragon soul both changed. They immediately entered the void. At the instant they entered the void, they both looked toward a certain direction. In that direction, 2 silhouettes traversed the void and instantly passed through the battlefield, disappearing without a trace. Xing Luo. A cold light flashed in Qin Yu's eyes. Killing intent filled the air. One of the 2 figures who had crossed the battlefield and disappeared was Qin Yu's enemy in his previous life, Xing Luo. That direction is the extraterritorial battlefield. The extraterritorial demon race is invading. Why isn't Xing Luo participating in the battle against the demon race? Why is he going to the extraterritorial battlefield? The dragon soul's eyes were cold. At the same time, he was puzzled. Xing Luo was the strongest emperor after Qin Yu. Why would he appear at such a critical moment in the heaven domain? Why would he not participate in the battle? Extraterritorial battlefield? Or is he going to the extraterritorial demon race? Qin Yu calmed down and suppressed the killing intent in his heart. His eyes flashed. While he was thinking, Qin Yu suddenly sensed something. He looked at the heaven domain ancient emperors and the extraterritorial demon race's divine ancestor who were fighting. After looking at the ancient emperors who were fighting to the death, Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. It seems that a few of the older generation ancient emperors are missing. The dragon soul also came back to his senses. He was puzzled and muttered to himself. According to Pan Hong's information, the ancient emperors of the middle ground should have all moved out except for the Sky Suppression Ghost Emperor. But now, a few of the older generation ancient emperors were missing. Could it be that those old guys of the middle ground have some other plan? Qin Yu did not intend to get involved in the battle. He remained hidden in the void and watched the tragic battle. At this moment, the tragic battle had changed. The extraterritorial demon race had taken the initiative by surprise and made the heaven domain warriors pay a heavy price of hundreds of thousands of warriors. However, the heaven domain warriors had made thorough preparations to defend against the demon race's invasion. Therefore, after the initial chaos, the heaven domain warriors had stabilized their footing. The heaven domain warriors' army, which was stationed at the end of the demon spirit territory, firmly entangled the extraterritorial demon race. The heaven domain warriors who came from the spiritual state as reinforcements were desperately resisting the demon race's invasion of the spiritual state. God Sacrificial Disc, Chaos God Power. Seeing the heaven domain warriors' army gathering, the celestial demon emperor, who was being attacked by 2 ancient emperors, sneered and immediately sent a message. The The Nether Demon Emperor, the Soul Demon Emperor, and the War Demon Emperor of the 4 royal families of the extraterritorial domain understood and shouted at the same time. Intense and dazzling divine light blossomed from the 3 of them. They were like 3 suns slowly rising into the sky, their light illuminating the entire demon spirit territory. Sacrifice. The 9 royal families of the extraterritorial domain, including the Evil Demon Emperor and the Ghost Demon Emperor, forced their opponents to retreat. Their hands formed seals, and a strange power radiated from their bodies, resonating with the dazzling divine light from the Nether Demon Emperor and the other 2. Rumble. Immediately, an earth-shattering thunderclap exploded in the sky above the demon spirit territory. Both the extraterritorial demon race and the heaven domain warriors felt their eardrums explode, and their heads buzz. This fluctuation, what's going on? My true essence is boiling uncontrollably. Damn it, what's going on? After the thunderclap, the heaven domain warriors had just recovered from their shock when they felt the true essence in their bodies boiling like water. That boiling sensation caused them to feel incomparably terrified in their hearts. That was because their true yuan was actually not under their control. If it continued to boil like that, they would definitely die from spontaneous combustion. Chapter 600. They have indeed used the ancient divine power. Among the martial artists, only the forces under the 7 ancient emperors and Shi Tiangang from the Sky Emperor Palace did not have much reaction. Other than that, there were a few small forces and independent martial artists who had not obtained the ancient divine power and had not merged with it to increase their cultivation. Central Continent. They already knew that the extraterritorial demon tribe could control the ancient divine power. Qin Yu, who had been watching the battle from the void, saw that the forces under the 7 ancient emperors were not affected and immediately understood. Although many martial artists in the forces of the 7 ancient emperors were affected by the ancient divine power, the elite and core martial artists were not affected by the ancient divine power. If one were to call it a coincidence, it would be too much of a coincidence. There was only one possibility. The forces of the 7 ancient emperors must have known about the ancient divine power. This also allowed Qin Yu to confirm the guess in his heart even more. The older generation of the ancient emperors in the central continent of the heaven domain must be plotting something. This piqued Qin Yu's interest. What would the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain do when the extraterritorial demon tribe invaded with full force and suppressed the ancient divine power? The control of the ancient divine power was also one of the trump cards that Qin Yu had prepared to deal with the forces of the 12 ancient emperors. Bang 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 bang. Under the command of the Celestial Demonic Emperor, the Underworld Demonic Emperor, the Soul Demon Emperor, the War Demon Emperor and the other kings and divine ancestors cooperated and attacked. Among the martial artists of the heaven domain, there were continuous explosions. Under the influence of the ancient divine power, the martial artists of the heaven domain were like inflated watermelons, exploding in groups. Blood, which was as thick as fog, filled the heavens and the earth, dyeing the sky red. The earth was infected and turned dark red. The extraterritorial demon tribe's ancient divine power plan had caused the death of millions of martial artists in the heaven domain. Because of the explosion of the ancient divine power, there were countless experts who had escaped with injuries. This is a self-explosion caused by the chaos of the ancient divine power? Could it be that the extraterritorial demon tribe arranged the appearance of the ancient divine power? It can't be, right? If so, how long have the extraterritorial demon tribe prepared for this invasion? Those martial artists who had not merged with the ancient divine power and had survived, looked at the empty space around them and felt chills down their spines. Those who had participated in this war were at least martial emperors. Given the current situation, they would be stupid if they did not know what was going on. Ha ha ha. Kill. Break through this hell and charge into the heavenly domain. For the demon tribe, charge. The demonic chi of the extraterritorial demon tribe's army. The demonic demon tribe's demons sword demonic demon tribe's demonic divine power. God. We ancestor run. Under the large-scale charge of the extraterritorial devil clan, the army of heaven domain cultivators, which had less than 90% of their combat strength, was immediately routed and fled in all directions. In the face of absolute strength, even if they knew that the heaven region might be invaded by the extraterritorial devil clan, the cultivators of the heaven region could not summon up the will to resist. After all, even if he had the intention to resist, under the current situation, other than dying, there was nothing he could do to change the situation. The flesh and blood is just right. Activate the immortal exterminating altar and kill the ancient emperors of the sky region. The sky demonic emperor sneered when he saw millions of martial artists exploding. The thick blood mist blocked his vision. He immediately prepared to activate the second plan, which was to kill all the ancient emperors of the sky region. Although the surge of divine power just now had killed millions of elite cultivators of the 9 states of the heaven domain, severely damaging the foundation of the 9 states of the heaven domain. As long as the ancient emperors of the sky region were not destroyed, it would be difficult for them to invade the sky region. Therefore, their plan was to sacrifice the blood essence of millions of martial artists to kill the ancient emperors of the sky region. It's time to stop. Gather. Just as the sky demonic emperor and the others were about to move, a cold voice rang out. A figure in the ancient emperors of the sky region looked at the sky demonic emperor and the others coldly. That person was one of the 7 ancient emperors of the central region, an ancient emperor under the heavenly emperor Yushu. Rumble. Rumble. 2 explosions rang out. The blood that filled the area was stirred up by the ancient emperors and turned into a huge blood mist vortex. Could it be, among the 4 sovereign families, the nether demon emperor seemed to have guessed something and his face changed. They want to sacrifice as well. The killing intent in the sky demonic emperor's eyes intensified. They had used the ancient divine power to explode millions of martial artists in the sky region. Firstly, they wanted to intimidate the martial artists of the sky region. Secondly, they wanted to use the flesh and blood of millions of martial artists as sacrifices to perform a forbidden technique to kill the ancient emperors of the sky region. But now, the ancient emperors of the sky domain had seized the opportunity to sacrifice the flesh and blood of millions of martial artists before they could do so. At the thought of this, the sky demonic emperor's cold eyes swept across the ancient emperors of the extraterritorial demon race, mainly the ancient emperors of the 4 sovereign families and the 9 great royal families. The ancient emperors of the sky region had done this because they knew that they would use their ancient divine power to explode the martial artists of the sky region. Therefore, they had been waiting for this opportunity. They had spies from the sky region in the extraterritorial demon race, and these spies had a high status in the extraterritorial demon race. Otherwise, they would not have known about this plan. Sacrifice. Unfortunately, there was no time for the sky demonic emperor to investigate. The ancient emperors of the imperial sky emperor's subordinates immediately performed the sacrifice after purifying the flesh and blood of the martial artists. A simple and unadorned ring appeared in his hand. It rose into the air and merged with the huge blood vortex. Almost at the same time, the ancient emperors under the Sky Suppression Ghost Emperor, the 4 Symbols Tao Emperor, the ancient mystic demonic emperor, the Blood Spirit Emperor, the Heaven Spitesword Emperor, and the Earth Underworld Mystic Emperor all took out an ancient item. Among these ancient items, there were ancient swords, broken ancient banners, satin, bracelets, and so on. That is, Qin Yu's eyes flashed when he saw the ancient items that the 7 ancient emperors threw out. Catcher. The 7 ancient items exploded the moment they came into contact with the blood mist. Immediately, 7 dazzling immortal lights with majestic immortal might bloomed from the blood mist vortex. The power was so strong that the void was destroyed inch by inch. This was true destruction. They completely disappeared, turning into pitch-black spatial cracks. They could not be restored like when they were destroyed by force. Immortal Qi. Damn it. They actually sacrificed immortal treasures. The Sky Demonic Emperor was the first to react. He immediately understood that the 7 ancient items that the 7 ancient emperors had sacrificed were immortal treasures. What were immortal treasures? They were immortal treasures that could only be refined and used by ancient immortals in the immortal ancient era. Although the immortal ancient era was long gone, and ancient immortals had become legends, many immortal treasures refined by ancient immortals were left behind. Chapter 601. In the heaven domain, there were many immortal inheritances and sacred grounds that had existed for a long time, and many of them had immortal treasures. Of course, given the heavenly domain's current martial realm, even an ancient emperor would not be able to activate a celestial treasure. However, this didn't stop immortal treasures from becoming the cornerstone immortal treasures of the various great powers. Just like now, explode. After sacrificing the 7 immortal treasures, the 7 ancient emperors formed hand seals and roared thunderously, shaking the sky. The earth-shattering explosion that everyone had expected did not happen. Instead, there was only an immortal light that was so dazzling that even the ancient emperors could not look at it directly. It filled the heavens and earth, penetrating through everything. Puff, puff. Amidst the dazzling and terrifying immortal light, the sound of flesh being pierced could be heard. It sounded as if someone's body was being pierced by a sword. However, at the level of ancient emperors, venerable sovereigns, and martial emperors, their physical bodies were impenetrable by fire and water. Even divine weapons could hardly penetrate their bodies. However, at this moment, the clear sound of flesh being pierced through could be heard. If someone could see through the immortal light, they would be able to see it. The 7 sacrificed immortal treasures radiated immortal light like immortal weapons that easily pierced through the ancient emperor sacred ancestors of the extraterritorial devil race. All those that were penetrated by the immortal light were instantly obliterated, and they were completely obliterated without a trace of flesh or blood remaining. The ancient emperors and venerable sovereigns of the heaven domain were enveloped by a thin layer of starry veil, blocking all the immortal light. Shockingly, that layer of star veil was an immortal artifact as well. Therefore, while the extraterritorial demon clan had suffered heavy casualties, only the martial emperors from the sky domain had been killed. Damn it! Demonic release. The celestial demon emperor and the other demon emperors were furious. They used their ultimate moves to resist the immortal light. However, it was a pity that the explosion of 7 immortal treasures was so powerful that even Heavenly Devil Emperor and the others who had been ancient emperors for countless years could not withstand it. In an instant, the celestial demon emperor and the other sacred ancestors of the demon race, who were closest to him, were severely injured, their auras weakening. Fortunately, the extraterritorial devil race had mobilized over 1,000 ancient emperors to resist the destructive immortal light of the 7 immortal treasures. When the celestial light completely dissipated, everyone could not help but gasp when they looked at the ancient emperor realm in the sky again. The explosion of the 7 immortal artifacts had killed nearly 100 ancient emperors of the extraterritorial devil race. One had to know that this was the ancient emperor realm. Regardless of whether it was in the heavenly region or the extraterritorial region, this was a peak existence that could establish a sect. But now, under the destructive immortal light, it couldn't resist in the slightest. It completely disappeared, and not even a trace of it was left. The surviving ancient emperors of the demon race were also severely injured. Their fighting strength was greatly diminished. As for the remaining sovereigns and martial emperors, millions of them had disappeared. Previously, the extraterritorial demon race had ignited their ancient divine power and killed millions of martial artists in the heaven domain. Now, in just a few breaths of time, the sky region had given them a taste of their own medicine. Not only had they caused the extraterritorial devil race to lose millions of combat strength, they had even killed close to 100 ancient emperors. The combat strength of close to 100 ancient emperors was enough to crush the millions of demons. It could be said that the extraterritorial devil race had suffered far more losses than the martial artists in the heaven domain. Initially, the two sides were evenly matched. After the continuous changes, the martial artists in the heaven domain had gained the absolute upper hand. After all, the heaven domain had gained close to 100 more ancient emperors. Success. Set up a spiritual barrier and trap them. The ancient emperors of the heaven domain were extremely shocked by the explosion of the 7 immortal artifacts. But when the immortal light disappeared, they came to their senses and were extremely excited. Their auras soared to the sky. 5 of the ancient emperors of the 7 major forces took out their immortal artifacts and set up a huge spiritual barrier, trapping the divine ancestors of the 4 sovereign tribes and the 9 royal tribes of the extraterritorial devil race. Damn it! Break this spiritual barrier immediately. The demonic chi on the celestial demonic emperor's body had recovered. When he saw the spiritual barrier trapping them, the demonic chi on his body soared to the sky, and he turned into a huge, ferocious demon. The other 3 sovereign tribes and the 9 royal tribes also attacked furiously. Their demonic chi was shocking, and their combat strength was enough to destroy the world. The celestial demonic emperor and the others knew that once they were trapped, the extraterritorial devil race army would be like a group of dragons without a leader, and they would become a pile of loose sand. Therefore, they had to break the spiritual barrier. Act according to the plan. Before the celestial demonic emperor and the others rush out, we must try our best to kill the ancient emperors of the extraterritorial devil race. North Emperor Luan, Emperor Taiyang, and the other senior emperors immediately rushed toward the celestial demonic emperor and the others. As they rushed out, they hurriedly gave orders to the ancient emperors of the heaven domain. The celestial demonic emperor and the others were the top existences among the divine ancestors of the extraterritorial ancient emperors. In the heaven domain, only North Emperor Luan and the other senior emperors could deal with them. Of course, they could only deal with them and delay them. It was impossible for them to kill them. Kill. The other ancient emperors of the heaven domain immediately rushed toward the other ancient emperors of the extraterritorial devil race. The heavily injured extraterritorial devil race army was now in a difficult situation. They could only defend themselves and no longer had the momentum they had before to break through the demonic spirit territory and invade the spiritual state. The people of the central continent have infiltrated the extraterritorial devil race so deeply. Qin Yu watched the entire battle and knew that the extraterritorial devil race's invasion was going to end in failure again. To be honest, with the extraterritorial devil race's strength, if the heaven domain's warriors had not infiltrated the devil race and learned of their plan in advance and sacrificed the blood of millions of warriors, the heaven domain's warriors would not have been able to resist the extraterritorial devil race's invasion. It would not be easy for the heaven domain to resist the extraterritorial devil race's invasion. At the very least, the price they would have to pay would be more than the millions of warriors. The previous invasions of the extraterritorial devil race were always protracted battles. Whether it was the heaven domain's 9 continents or the extraterritorial devil race, they would pay a price that far exceeded the millions of warriors. Just as Qin Yu was observing the battle, he suddenly sensed an extremely faint fluctuation of soul energy. It was as fast as lightning and fiercely pounced at him. It was so fast that even Qin Yu, who was in the ancient emperor realm, could not catch it. Demonic chi, is it trying to take over my body? If there was demonic chi in the soul power, then the result was obvious. It was definitely an extraterritorial devil race. Just the fluctuation of soul power, and the speed that Qin Yu could not catch, meant that it was most likely one of the extraterritorial devil race's ancient emperor race that had been killed by the explosion of the immortal treasure. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes and a cold light flashed in them. He had no intention of getting involved in the battle, but he did not expect the extraterritorial devil race to take the initiative to find him. Swoosh! The void in front of Qin Yu shook slightly like the surface of a lake that was blown by a breeze, and faint ripples appeared. And at this moment, a black light that cannot be seen with the naked eye flashed and appeared in the void. With a flash, it entered Qin Yu's body and disappeared. Chapter 602. Damn it! When this divine ancestor takes over this body, I will definitely turn your heaven domain upside down. An exasperated old voice appeared in Qin Yu's sea of soul. A monstrous evil demon chi enveloped Qin Yu's entire sea of soul, as if it was about to devour Qin Yu's soul. So it's the Soul Demon clan. No wonder the demonic soul could escape from the explosion of the immortal treasure. Unfortunately, if you want to take over this body, you have found the wrong person. In the Sea of Soul, Qin Yu's figure condensed, and an unparalleled dragon power swept out. Streams of dragon chi, like a ferocious Shenron, instantly tore apart the spreading demon chi. This is... You are at the ancient emperor realm? The soul demon was horrified. Qin Yu's cultivation was only at the 7th grade sovereign realm. How could his sovereign soul be so powerful that it had reached the ancient emperor realm? This kind of thing was completely illogical. Such an extreme invasion. I would like to see what has happened to your extraterritorial demon clan. Qin Yu ignored the soul demon's shock. With a thought, The dragon chi became thousands of times more condensed and pounced on the soul demon. Humph! You are courting death. The soul demon came to his senses and snorted coldly. Although he did not know how Qin Yu's sovereign soul had reached the ancient emperor realm, Qin Yu's cultivation was indeed only at the 7th grade sovereign realm. As the ancient emperor's divine ancestor, the soul demon naturally did not care about a mere 7th grade sovereign realm. Soul-devouring magic. Without any hesitation, the soul demon immediately used his extraordinary divine ability. A huge black and evil demon mist vortex condensed and appeared. Qin Yu's condensed dragon chi was completely devoured by the demon mist vortex, leaving nothing behind. He, Junior, hand over your body obediently. The soul demon laughed wildly and evil. Countless demon spells spread out from the black mist vortex, trying to seal and occupy Qin Yu's sovereign soul. Seal. Qin Yu's expression did not change in the slightest. He only lightly spat out a word. Immediately, a long and distant dragon roar that seemed to have come from ancient times rang out from the black mist vortex formed by the soul demons. There was a loud bang. The soul demon let out a miserable howl as the demonic fog whirlpool exploded. Ancient dragon curses firmly sealed the demonic fog. This is the immortal sealing curse that was long lost in inheritance from immortal ancient. You, who are you? This time, the soul demon was completely stunned. According to the legends, the immortal sealing curse was a supreme immortal curse that could seal ancient immortals. However, with the passing of the immortal ancient, this immortal curse had long been lost. The soul demon could not believe that Qin Yu had mastered such a supreme immortal technique. Refine. An indifferent voice rang out from Qin Yu's mouth. The ancient dragon curses immediately trembled as if they were sentient, completely sealing and refining the soul demon. The immortal sealing spell required the use of immortal energy. Even if Qin Yu saw the immortal sealing spell, he would not be able to use it. However, Qin Yu had integrated his comprehension of the immortal sealing curse into the Dragon Clan's divine ability and secret technique, forming a unique Dragon Clan sealing technique. Soon, the soul demon's devil soul was completely refined by Qin Yu, and it was truly dead. If it were an ordinary ancient emperor, even with the Dragon Clan sealing technique, Qin Yu could not kill it so easily. However, this soul demon only had a devil soul. Coincidentally, Qin Yu's sovereign soul had also reached the ancient emperor realm. Therefore, under the attack of Qin Yu, who could use the Dragon Clan sealing technique, the soul demon could not resist at all, and its soul was completely scattered. This aura of a soul emperor, when Qin Yu used his sovereign soul to cast the Dragon Clan sealing technique to kill the soul demon. In the chaotic battle in the distance, a figure seemed to have sensed something. After killing dozens of demon emperors from the extraterritorial realm with a punch, he turned his head to look in the direction of Qin Yu. I see. No wonder the extraterritorial demon race would invade on such a large scale. At this time, Qin Yu had already refined the devil soul of the soul demon and obtained its memory. This demon race had a high status among the 4 great imperial clans of the soul demon race. He was the direct elder brother of the soul demon emperor. From his memory, Qin Yu learned that the demon source of the extraterritorial demon race was getting weaker and weaker, and might be completely exhausted. At this point, Qin Yu understood why the extraterritorial demon race would invade the 9 provinces of the Heaven Domain on such a large scale. The extraterritorial demon race had no way out. Immortal exterminating divine power killing array? After learning the truth of the extraterritorial demon race's invasion, Qin Yu also found out that the extraterritorial demon race had left behind a killer move to deal with the ancient emperors of the Heaven Domain. A killing array from the immortal ancient era? Qin Yu's eyes flickered, and he was faintly interested. The immortal exterminating divine power killing array was a killing array from the immortal ancient era. With the ancient divine power as the foundation, 99 divine power altars were laid out. If the ancient emperors sacrificed themselves to activate it, its power would be enough to easily kill an ancient emperor. Even without the sacrifice of living beings, the immortal exterminating divine power killing array was enough to threaten the ancient emperors. Even the ancient emperors of the older generation would not be able to resist it. Although Qin Yu had mastered many ancient arrays, including many killing arrays from the immemorial era, he had never mastered a killing array from the immortal ancient era. No, the immortal exterminating array in the immortal exterminating ancient diagram that Qin Yu had obtained was very likely the immortal ancient killing array. However, Qin Yu now had complete control of the immortal exterminating ancient diagram. If he forcibly used it, he would still suffer a backlash. Therefore, Qin Yu was interested in the immortal exterminating divine power killing array set up by the extraterritorial demon race. Once Qin Yu's revenge began, it was very likely to set off a bloody storm in the heaven region. Even in the 9 prefectures, several prefectures might join forces. Now that he had seen such a huge and terrifying killing move, Qin Yu naturally would not let it go so easily. Immediately, Qin Yu flew through the sky and landed at a certain region of the Devil Spirit territory. This was the place where the extraterritorial demon race had set up the immortal exterminating divine power killing array. It was also the place where the divine power of the millions of martial artists in the heaven region spontaneously ignited. Boom! Just as Qin Yu was about to break the hidden restriction, a vast Tao power came crashing down with endless power. It was as if the sky had collapsed. Qin Yu instantly sensed it and immediately dodged to the side, avoiding the destructive attack. It's him. Within the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul's eyes flickered with cold killing intent. Qin Yu's eyes were also cold and indifferent. That familiar Tao power, Qin Yu did not need to look up to know who had attacked. The Tao of heavenly stars. In the entire heaven region, only one person had comprehended this Tao power. Indeed, in the void, a figure surrounded by starlight stepped down from the void. It was as if he was an immortal. This person was the 7-star ancient emperor. You can actually avoid my heavenly star's light. Junior, which sect are you from? The 7-star ancient emperor stared at Qin Yu. Faint starlight flickered in his deep eyes. This old man is using a secret technique. Could it be that he has discovered our identity? The dragon soul sensed it and its eyes flickered with killing intent. Chapter 603. I don't belong to any sect. Qin Yu said flatly. When his emperor soul had recovered to the ancient emperor realm, he was no longer afraid of being detected by any secret techniques. Of course, it would be a different story if the ancient emperor directly searched his soul. However, from the fact that the 7-star ancient emperor wanted to kill him without hesitation, it was highly likely that the ancient emperor was suspicious of him. Since he was suspicious, the 7-star ancient emperor would verify it. The best way to do so was to kill him directly. At the level of the ancient emperor realm, killing people was a common occurrence for them. You don't belong to any sect. Heh, you are so young and yet you don't belong to any sect. Looks like you have extraordinary talent. Why don't you become my disciple? I am the 7-star ancient emperor of the East continent. The 7-star ancient emperor said after his secret technique failed to detect Sumo's identity. Although his secret technique was useless, the suspicion that the 7-star ancient emperor had toward Qin Yu grew even stronger. Although Qin Yu's appearance, cultivation, and aura were different, the 7-star ancient emperor felt that he was very similar to the dragon god emperor. Of course, the most important thing was the fluctuation of the emperor soul that the 7-star ancient emperor had sensed earlier. During the battle at the immortal god graveyard, the 7-star ancient emperor had almost died in the hands of Qin Yu. Hence, the fluctuation of Qin Yu's emperor soul was still fresh in his memory. Although he knew that it was impossible, he could not get rid of the suspicion in his heart. I am sorry. I am used to being idle and I am not interested in becoming a disciple, said Qin Yu indifferently. Since the 7-star ancient emperor had already become suspicious, it was naturally impossible for him to deceive the ancient emperor. Hence, Qin Yu could not be bothered to disguise himself. Are you going to take action? The dragon soul sensed Qin Yu's killing intent and the killing intent in its heart surged. Although I didn't expect to be recognized here, this is the best place to fight. Qin Yu looked into the distance and saw the ancient emperors of the sky domain fighting with the extraterritorial demon race. The killing intent in his heart intensified. With Qin Yu's current cultivation of a 7th-grade emperor, he had no chance of winning against an experienced emperor like the 7-star ancient emperor. However, the situation was different now. Because you're used to being idle? Ha. Since that's the case, then forget it. Qin Yu's attitude made the 7-star ancient emperor even more suspicious. He chuckled and prepared to leave. Swish, 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 swish. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the 7-star ancient emperor pointed his right index finger and countless rays of starlight shot out from his fingertip. Every single one of those starlights contained peerless power of the Tao, and it was enough to shatter space and destroy all Taos in the world. This was the Tao of the heavenly stars that the 7-star ancient emperor had comprehended, the Tao of the falling stars, which was known for its destructive power. Dong. Qin Yu, who was already prepared, waved his sleeve, and the space before him began to ripple. This was none other than the Dragon Soul's spacetime ability, spatial distortion. It actually changed the depth of space. The 7-star ancient monarch's eyes flickered coldly as he gently waved his right hand. The starlight immediately avoided the distorted space and lunged at Qin Yu from all directions. Appear. After using the spacetime ability to distort space, Qin Yu immediately stomped his right foot. Layers of ancient and mysterious demonic runes appeared and formed a mysterious divine power boundary. Qin Yu chanted the ancient runes and formed a seal with his hands. The divine power in his body surged and he passed through the divine power boundary without any hindrance and appeared within it. Rumble. The moment Qin Yu disappeared, the 7-star ancient emperor's starlight pierced through the weak point of the distorted space and attacked fiercely. The divine power boundary shook violently, but it was not attacked. Immediately after, violent and destructive Tao ripples swept through the area. Everything within a radius of several thousand miles was destroyed into a mess. Only a gigantic ancient formation made of divine power appeared in the void. The divine power ancient array was formed by 99 huge divine power altars, and it looked extremely mysterious. Divine power? Demonic chi? When the 7-star ancient emperor saw the divine power ancient array in the divine power boundary, his eyes turned solemn. Within the divine power ancient array, there was pure demonic chi from the extraterritorial realm. Other than that, it also contained extremely terrifying ancient divine power. The two great powers intertwined and merged perfectly. The ripples that were emitted made even the 7-star ancient emperor, who was as strong as the older generation ancient emperor, feel a chill in his heart. Could this be the killing move prepared by the extraterritorial demon race? Although the 7-star ancient emperor was not the ancient emperor of the Middle region and did not know the exact invasion plan of the extraterritorial demon race, he could roughly deduce it from the fusion of demonic chi and divine power. However, when he saw how easily Qin Yu passed through the divine power boundary and was able to control the ancient divine power, the suspicion in the 7-star ancient emperor's heart dissipated slightly. Since Qin Yu was from the extraterritorial demon race, the possibility of him being the Dragon God Emperor was very small. Of course, no matter how small the possibility was, the 7-star ancient emperor still had to check it out. If Qin Yu was really the Dragon God Emperor, then this was definitely the best opportunity to eliminate him. Is that divine power? Divine power altar? An altar formed by divine power? In that case, it was left behind by the extraterritorial demon race? That is, the 7-star ancient emperor of the East continent. It seems like the 7-star ancient emperor has seen through the extraterritorial demon race's plot and is now killing the extraterritorial demon race. The appearance of the 7-star ancient emperor and the 10,000-foot divine power killing array attracted the attention of many people even in this chaotic and destructive battlefield. The immortal vanquishing divine power killing array has been activated. Who did it? The immortal vanquishing divine power killing array requires 8 ancient divine beast spirits to activate. The 8 ancient divine beast spirits only belong to the 4 sovereign tribes and the 9 sovereign tribes. It seems like the divine ancestors of the sovereign tribes and the sovereign tribes have taken action. Let's go and help. We must activate the divine power killing array. The experts of the extraterritorial demon race had also noticed the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array and were preparing to go and help. However, it was a pity that they had just moved when they were stopped by the ancient emperors of the heaven domain. This is the mysterious person who took away the ancient heavenly rock spirit. At this moment, The heavenly demonic emperor and the others who were trapped by the ancient emperors of the heaven domain turned pale. Each of the 8 ancient divine power relics of the heaven domain was guarded by an ancient divine beast spirit. However, the extraterritorial demon race who controlled the activation of the 8 ancient divine power relics only controlled 7 ancient divine beast spirits. No one knew who had taken away the ancient heavenly rock spirit secretly. Because of this, the extraterritorial demon race had conducted a large-scale search internally. In the end, they did not find anything. The extraterritorial demon race concluded that the person who had taken away the ancient heavenly rock spirit was not a martial artist of the heaven domain. However, they did not expect that the person who had taken away the ancient heavenly rock spirit would appear at this moment. What was worse was that the person who had taken so much effort to prepare the killing array was also discovered by him. This was a much greater blow to the extraterritorial demon race than when the ancient emperors had been killed by the explosion of the celestial treasure. Now, they could only hope that the person who had taken away the ancient heavenly rock spirit was from the demon race. Otherwise, this invasion plan would be completely ruined. Chapter 604. Dragon Soul. To what extent can you open your spacetime mirage? In the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array, Qin Yu's divine power seal appeared on his palm. He was as fast as a shooting star as he flew past the 99 divine power altars. Every time he passed by an altar, Qin Yu would rapidly send out a palm strike. His divine energy would spread out. In an instant, those 99 altars were activated. An extremely terrifying killing intent was emitted from the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array. It was as though an immemorial demon had awakened and wanted to slaughter everything in the world. Even if I use all my strength, I can only open it up to 10,000 feet. It is impossible to use it as a battlefield against the 7-star ancient emperor. The dragon soul understood what Qin Yu meant and said directly, "It would be great if it could trap the 7-star ancient emperor." However, even though the dragon soul had comprehended the spacetime Tao, its cultivation was inferior. The spacetime mirage could not withstand the power of the ancient emperor realm. "Can you hold on for 3 breaths of time?" Qin Yu asked again as he looked at the 7-star ancient emperor, who was surrounded by starlight and ready to use his mystique. 3 breaths of time? I should be able to. However, I will have to borrow the origin dragon world of the other dragon tribe. The dragon soul pondered for a moment and said, "All the dragon tribes are at your disposal. No matter what, you have to use the spacetime mirage to trap the 7-star ancient emperor for 3 breaths of time." Qin Yu's eyes were cold and determined. After 3 breaths of time, the 7-star ancient emperor would die. Rumble. Catcher. Under the fierce attacks of the 7-star ancient emperor, the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array did not last long before it was broken. Spots of starlight instantly scattered across the entire divine power killing array. The 7-star ancient emperor appeared in front of Qin Yu like a ghost. Die. This time, the 7-star ancient emperor did not waste his breath. He pointed his finger and the starlight pierced through the void. Regardless of Qin Yu's identity, there was no need to fear him when he was dead. "Let's see who will be the one who will die." Qin Yu laughed maniacally. He formed a seal with both hands and shouted. The god energy in his body boiled. Immediately, the entire immortal vanquishing divine power killing array shook and an unparalleled killing intent swept across the 9 heavens. The starlight Tao mystique that the 7-star ancient emperor had executed was shattered by the killing intent. What a powerful force! The eyes of the 7-star ancient emperor flashed with astonishment. Although he had long sensed that the divine formation was extraordinary, he still didn't expect that even his Tao arts and divine abilities would be shattered so easily. Formation, rise. The killing intent in Qin Yu's eyes skyrocketed. As expected of an immortal killing formation, its might was truly terrifying. Immediately, without the slightest delay, Qin Yu activated the entire formation array. The 99 altars were covered by a thick divine light, which transformed into an ancient divine power incantation. The entire divine array transformed into a huge array diagram. Qin Yu was in the center of the formation diagram, controlling the god power ancient incantations formed by the 99 sacrificial altars. The seven-star ancient emperor was trapped in the formation diagram. Dragon Soul. The moment the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array was activated, Qin Yu immediately shouted, "Appear!" The Dragon Soul, which was already prepared, immediately executed the space-time mystique. Accompanied by a loud and majestic dragon roar, an independent ethereal world appeared. Qin Yu and the seven-star ancient emperor were immediately kept in the space-time ethereal world. Dragon roar! The seven-star ancient emperor's suspicions had dissipated. However, when he heard the majestic dragon roar, his suspicions intensified. Even if Qin Yu was the Dragon God Emperor supremacy, he definitely had something to do with the Dragon God Emperor supremacy. Green dragon battling the heavens. Heaven punishing war emperor transformation. Qin Yu's eyes were extremely cold. Dark green dragon scales appeared all over his body and his aura skyrocketed. Divine light flashed in his hand continuously and an ancient divine spear appeared with boundless might. At this moment, dragon roars resounded from Qin Yu's body and shook the 9 heavens. Heaven-devouring dragon seal. Dragon god dominating body. 9 nether purgatory. Heavenly stellar sacred light. Divine firmament world destroying lightning. Golden heaven incinerating golden flames. Bloodthirsty hell. Numerous divine abilities and secret techniques of the Dragon Clan were executed by Qin Yu in an instant. The aura on Qin Yu's body rose sharply to a frightening level in an instant. Although it was not comparable to the ancient emperor realm, even high-level divine sovereigns would feel fearful. Green dragon battling the heavens? It's really you. The seven-star ancient emperor, who was originally trapped in the space-time ethereal world, was not bothered. However, when he sensed Qin Yu's green dragon battling the heavens and other secret techniques, his face changed drastically. In the entire heaven domain, only Qin Yu knew the dragon art of the immemorial war dragon art. Even Xing Luo, who was inseparable from Qin Yu, did not know it. Now that Qin Yu had used it, Qin Yu's identity as the Dragon God Emperor supremacy was naturally revealed. How is this possible? It's impossible. When the suspicion in his heart was confirmed, the seven-star ancient emperor could no longer remain calm. An uncontrollable sense of fear appeared in his heart. In the past, Qin Yu's title as the Dragon God Emperor supremacy had suppressed all the ancient emperors in the heaven domain. Although the seven-star ancient emperor was an older generation ancient emperor, he did not have the slightest bit of courage in front of Qin Yu. When Qin Yu was at his peak, he had appeared in the extraterritorial battlefield alone and caused the extraterritorial demon race to give up on invading. Naturally, one could imagine how terrifying that power was. Seven-star ancient emperor, long time no see. Qin Yu held the divine spear in his hand and was surrounded by divine arrays. His appearance had returned to normal and he looked at the seven-star ancient emperor indifferently. It's really you. Why aren't you dead? You should be dead by now. When the seven-star ancient emperor saw Qin Yu's original appearance, he was even more shocked and could not help but take a few steps back. Previously, in order to ensure that Qin Yu was really dead, they had investigated thoroughly and confirmed that Qin Yu's soul had dissipated. That was truly the death of one's soul. Qin Yu definitely did not have the slightest chance of survival. However, why was Qin Yu still standing there perfectly fine? One could disguise one's appearance and body. However, the fluctuations of Emperor spirits were real and could not be faked. You guys tried your best to plot against me and put me in a desperate situation. However, you did not expect me to have consumed the reincarnation elixir and enter the reincarnation cycle, right? Qin Yu smiled coldly and it seemed like he was not in a hurry to make a move. Qin Yu had allowed the Dragon Soul's space-time illusory world to last for 3 breaths of time. That was the 3 breaths of time during the battle with the seven-star ancient emperor. If they did not fight, it would not matter even if it lasted for 300 years, let alone 3 breaths of time. The space-time illusory world was the strongest space-time Tao that the Dragon Soul could control. If it was searched from the outside world, even an ancient emperor would not be able to find it easily. Therefore, Qin Yu was not worried that someone would come in and disturb him. Of course, the reason why Qin Yu was talking nonsense with the seven-star ancient emperor was because he wanted to completely control the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array. After all, The immortal vanquishing divine power killing array was a killing move that the extraterritorial demon race had prepared to kill the ancient emperors of the sky region. Although Qin Yu could control the ancient heavenly rock spirit and completely control the ancient divine power, he still needed some time to fully control the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array. Chapter 605. Reincarnation Elixir. Reincarnation of the soul? When the seven-star ancient emperor heard this, he was stunned and shook his head. No, that's impossible. We have already destroyed your soul. It's impossible for you to be reincarnated. Long ago, the dragon god sovereign's soul had been scattered in the graveyard of the immortal god. The 13 ancient emperors would not have missed out on Qin Yu's soul. Now, Qin Yu was saying that he had reincarnated? This was absolutely impossible. Not to mention reincarnating, even possessing someone else's body was an impossible task. You can't be the dragon god emperor? Did you inherit the legacy of the dragon god emperor? The seven-star ancient emperor calmed down. It was impossible for the dragon god emperor to be reincarnated. In that case, the current Qin Yu was either possessed or not the dragon god emperor at all. Destroyed my soul? Qin Yu looked at the seven-star ancient emperor and a strange look flashed across his cold eyes. Could it be that his soul had been destroyed in the graveyard of the immortal god? The reincarnation elixir could only allow the host's soul to retain the memories of the previous life. If one's soul was completely destroyed, even the reincarnation immortal elixir would not be able to reincarnate. Xing Luo had joined forces with the heaven-suppressing ghost emperor and the 12 ancient emperors to kill him. He could not let his soul escape. What the hell was going on? Qin Yu was unable to refrain himself from feeling puzzled. I'd like to see what kind of thing you are. The seven-star ancient emperor, who had calmed down, shouted angrily. His robe fluttered and his Dao power was condensed to the extreme. An extremely frightening Dao technique pressure exploded from the seven-star ancient emperor, and the void started to crack like layers of waves. With the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array at the center of Qin Yu, the entire void started to tremble. Dragon soul, get ready. Seeing this, Qin Yu immediately suppressed the thoughts in his mind. His hands, which were covered in green dragon scales, rapidly changed seals. As long as he could kill the seven-star ancient emperor, he would be able to find out whether or not his soul had been completely extinguished. Ang 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 ang. Deafening dragon roars resounded in the space-time virtual world. The dragon's power was ferocious and it was not any weaker than the Dao techniques of the ancient emperor realm. This short delay time had already allowed Qin Yu to completely control the immortal exterminating divine power killing array. Now, Qin Yu was combining the divine abilities and secret arts of the dragon race with the power of the immortal vanquishing divine power killing formation. It could be said that the current Qin Yu was no weaker than an ancient emperor. After all, the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array was meticulously prepared by the extraterritorial devil race to kill the ancient emperors of the heavenly region. If the celestial demonic emperor and the others were in control of it, one move would be enough to kill an ancient emperor. Qin Yu's cultivation was too weak and he was unable to fully activate the power of the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array. Even so, Qin Yu had the power of an ancient emperor. Die. When the seven-star ancient emperor saw this, the killing intent in his eyes intensified. Seven-star reincarnation. An ancient star mark appeared between the seven-star ancient emperor's eyebrows. Soon after, 7 dazzling stars appeared behind him and each of them contained unparalleled Dao techniques. Even though the seven-star ancient emperor was in the space-time virtual world and was isolated from the outside world, there was still an endless amount of heavenly star energy pouring into him. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. As the seven-star ancient emperor moved his right hand, the 7 dazzling stars turned into 7 rays of starlight and shot towards the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array. They were as fast as meteors falling from the sky. The seven-star ancient emperor could tell that Qin Yu had borrowed the power of the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array to possess such strength. As long as he could destroy the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array, Qin Yu would be at his mercy. Rumble. In the space-time virtual world, there was a sound that resembled a tsunami. The entire space-time virtual world shook even more violently and space cracks started to appear in the void. The seven-star ancient emperor was an ancient emperor expert of the heaven region. The Tao techniques that he had comprehended were too terrifying. Even though the dragon soul was supported by the space-time energy and the origin dragon world energy of the golden flames heaven incinerating dragon, it was still unable to withstand the Tao techniques. 9 revolutions of divine array, open the heavens and earth, dominate the ages. Qin Yu's eyes were indifferent and he was not shaken by the seven-star ancient emperor's Tao techniques. After Qin Yu chanted the ancient incantation, the divine power ancient incantation formed by the divine power sacrificial altars in the immortal vanquishing divine power killing array started to shake violently. Divine inscriptions started to spread out and connected with each other to form 9 palace divine arrays. They stacked on top of each other and boosted Qin Yu's strength. Chaotic heaven and earth, skybreaker. Seeing that the seven-star ancient emperor's 7 rays of starlight had reached the divine arrays, Qin Yu pushed his hands in the air. 9 ancient divine incantations with supreme divine power rushed out and collided with the seven-star ancient emperor's 7 rays of Tao techniques in the void. Rumble. A shockwave that seemed to be able to destroy the heavens and earth exploded in the space-time virtual world. The space-time virtual world, which already had space cracks, started to shake violently. More and more space cracks appeared and they eventually covered the entire space-time virtual world. At first glance, the space-time virtual world was like a glass ball that was filled with cracks. It looked like it could collapse and explode at any time. He blocked it. The seven-star ancient emperor's eyes narrowed and he looked at the scene in disbelief. One should know that he had not held back when he had used the seven-star reincarnation. It was his trump card. In the past, the seven-star ancient emperor had used this move to kill an ancient emperor. Now, Qin Yu, who had raised his cultivation level to the ancient emperor realm with the help of the divine killing array, had blocked his attack with ease. This made the seven-star ancient emperor feel a chill in his heart. The current Qin Yu had an invincible aura that matched perfectly with the dragon god emperor of the past. As expected, the Tao techniques of the ancient emperor realm are too strong. The space-time virtual world can only withstand one more attack. Otherwise, it will collapse completely. Within the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul said solemnly. Dragon aura surged and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Once the seven-star ancient emperor escaped from the space-time virtual world, it would be impossible to catch him again with the ancient emperor realm's creation realm techniques. Moreover, once the seven-star ancient emperor escaped, Qin Yu's identity would be exposed. Even though Qin Yu had sufficient means to deal with the ancient emperor, it would still be a disaster. The difference between dealing with one ancient emperor and a group of ancient emperors was like heaven and earth. Once is enough. Qin Yu's ice-cold and indifferent gaze was filled with killing intent. The time was ripe. Next, the seven-star ancient emperor would undoubtedly die. Chapter 606. Seven-star forbidden skill. At this moment, the horrified seven-star ancient emperor unleashed his killer move again. This time, it was even more ferocious than before. Immortal extermination array, unseal. With a thought from Qin Yu, the ancient immortal ancient diagram that had been sealed in the depths of the divine dragon ancient seal trembled slightly. The strongest immortal extermination array was completely unsealed at this moment. Immediately, waves of killing intent as vast as the ocean and capable of engulfing the heavens filled Qin Yu's entire body in an instant. Even the space around Qin Yu was torn apart. Crack. Qin Yu's entire body was covered with cyan-colored dragon scales. Numerous cracks had appeared on his body. Dense blood was surging out from them. Even though Qin Yu's cultivation had reached 7th grade sovereign and he had entered the divine dragon body and heaven-battling azure dragon state, the power of the immortal extermination array was still unbearable for Qin Yu. One should know that even when Qin Yu was at his peak in his previous life, he could barely control the immortal extermination array. With Qin Yu's current cultivation, he would naturally suffer a huge backlash if he completely unsealed the power of the immortal extermination array. Of course, the strongest part of the immortal extermination array was not the immortal extermination array. It was when the heaven extermination array, God extermination array, and Immortal Extermination Array were combined into the Immortal Extermination Ancient diagram. However, Qin Yu had never managed to combine the three arrays. Even when he was at his peak, he could not do it. Although the Ancient Immortal Ancient diagram did not have immortal might, there was no doubt that it was an immortal item from the Immortal Ancient era. Qin Yu guessed that only when he had surpassed the peak of the Ancient Emperor realm, which was the 9th level of the martial path, could he completely combine the three arrays into the Immortal Extermination Ancient diagram. Immortal Extermination Array? Could it be, it's really him? Sensing the familiar killing intent from the Immortal Extermination Array, the 7-star Ancient Emperor's face trembled slightly. His eyes were filled with unerasable fear. The 7-star Ancient Emperor had witnessed how terrifying the Immortal Extermination Array was during the battle at the graveyard of the Immortal God. During that battle, at least 30 Ancient Emperors had lost their lives to the Immortal Extermination diagram. Even the Ancient Emperors of the older generation had suffered greatly under the Immortal Extermination Array. Of course, the 7-star Ancient Emperor would not back down now that he had already used his Forbidden Technique. Forbidden Technique, 9 transformations, reverse yellow springs. The 7-star Ancient Emperor yelled and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. The essence blood fused with the 7 stars, causing the aura emitted by the 7 stars to become even more terrifying. Immortal Exterminating Divine Power. Immortal Extermination Ancient Formation, God Destroyer. Immortal Execution. Qin Yu soared into the sky with the Immortal Exterminating Divine Power Killing Array. The combination of the Immortal Exterminating Array and the Immortal Exterminating Divine Power Killing Array sent the entire space-time ethereal world into chaos. Whoosh! As Qin Yu and the 7-star Ancient Emperor's attacks clashed, the sound of tearing cloth echoed in the space-time illusionary world. Poochie! In the next moment, the sound of flesh and blood exploding could be heard. A thick smell of blood permeated the air. A dazzling white light with unparalleled killing intent streaked across the void, tearing the entire space-time ethereal world apart. How could this be? Immediately after, an extremely weak voice filled with disbelief rang out in the space-time ethereal world that was on the verge of collapsing. The voice belonged to one of the overlords of the East Continent, the 7-star Ancient Emperor. This 7-star Ancient Emperor, who was famous even in the entire Heaven region, had his glabella pierced by the white killing intent. An ancient, profound, and mysterious killing curse spread out from the center of the white killing intent and covered the entire body of the 7-star Ancient Emperor. As the mysterious and ancient killing curse destroyed the vitality of the 7-star Ancient Emperor, it also sealed the 7-star Ancient Emperor's sovereign soul and body. The 7-star Ancient Emperor found it hard to believe. Regardless of whether Qin Yu was the Dragon God Sovereign or not, Qin Yu's strength had only been raised to the level of an Ancient Emperor with the help of external forces. With the cultivation of a 7-star Ancient Emperor and the use of a life-saving Forbidden Technique, even an ordinary Emperor Realm Senior would be crippled if not killed by him. However, the one who had his sovereign soul destroyed and was fatally injured was the 7-star Ancient Emperor. Naturally, the 7-star Ancient Emperor could not accept this success. Seeing that the 7-star Ancient Emperor was destroyed and his sovereign soul was sealed, Qin Yu smiled. Qin Yu was now a 7th-grade sovereign. Compared to the peak of his previous life, there was a huge difference. However, the 7-star Ancient Emperor had underestimated the power of the Celestial Annihilating Divine Powers Killing Array. Even though Qin Yu could not fully unleash the power of the Celestial Annihilating Divine Powers Killing Array, this killing array was carefully prepared by the extraterritorial demon race to kill the ancient emperors of the sky region. When the Celestial Annihilating Divine Powers Killing Array and the Celestial Extermination Array merged, the killing intent of the Celestial Annihilating Divine Powers Killing Array was immediately suppressed by the Celestial Extermination Painting. This allowed Qin Yu's battle power to increase. It was no longer as simple as adding a killing formation and a killing formation. Cough cough. However, Qin Yu's body shook violently and his face turned pale. He coughed violently and spat out blood. Secret technique, flesh and blood rebirth. Sensing that Qin Yu's physical body was about to collapse, the dragon soul's expression turned grave and it immediately executed the secret technique. Along with a loud dragon roar, A vast and pure dragon chi gushed out from the ancient seal of the mystical dragon. Qin Yu's physical body, which had been destroyed by the Celestial Annihilating Divine Powers Killing Array and the Celestial Annihilating Divine Powers Killing Array, was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Qin Yu was using the killing curse of the Celestial Annihilating Divine Powers Killing Array to seal the 7-star Ancient Emperor's sovereign soul. Therefore, Qin Yu could not withdraw the Celestial Annihilating Painting. The dragon soul could only use the flesh and blood rebirth secret technique to prevent Qin Yu's physical body from collapsing. At this moment, at the end of the extraterritorial battlefield far away from the demon spirit district, a figure seemed to have sensed something and turned around to look in the direction of Qin Yu. This fluctuation, is the Celestial Annihilating Array? Could it be? This person was none other than Xing Luo, who was rushing to the extraterritorial battlefield. However, Xing Luo's eyes were trembling. His eyes were filled with shock, fear, disbelief, and many other complicated emotions. Back when they were exploring the immortal ancient ruins, Xing Luo had seen Qin Yu obtain the Celestial Annihilating Painting with his own eyes. He had also seen Qin Yu use it countless times. Now that he sensed the killing intent of the Celestial Annihilating Array, Xing Luo naturally thought of Qin Yu. What's wrong? In front of Xing Luo, the grey-robed man noticed Xing Luo's abnormality and turned around to ask, "What's going on?" Even if he had consumed the reincarnation immortal pill, his soul should have been completely destroyed back then. He shouldn't be able to come back to life, right? Or did someone else obtain the ancient seal of the mystical dragon? Xing Luo ignored the grey-robed man. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Back in the immortal god graveyard, Qin Yu knew that he had nowhere to run, so he sent the ancient seal of the mystical dragon into the endless void. Originally, Xing Luo had found the ancient seal of the mystical dragon in the endless void. However, Fairy Shualan had appeared out of nowhere and caused Xing Luo to completely lose track of the ancient seal of the mystical dragon. Chapter 607. Now that the murderous aura of the immortal extermination painting had appeared, there were only two possibilities. Either Qin Yu had been reborn, or someone had obtained Qin Yu's legacy. At the thought of this, Xing Luo's eyes flashed with joy. Regardless of whether it was Qin Yu's reincarnation or someone else obtaining Qin Yu's legacy, to the Star Luo Empire, this was definitely a good thing. Because this meant that Xing Luo would have another chance to obtain the archaic battle dragon art. What's wrong with you? That blood cultivator has already gone to the outer realm. If you continue to dawdle, you will completely lose track of him. The grey-robed man flew to Xing Luo's side and said unhappily, "Nothing. Let's go." Xing Luo regained his senses. The archaic battle dragon art was one of the keys to opening the immortal trove. However, the immortal king token was the key to the end of the immortal trove. It couldn't be lost. After looking in the direction of the murderous aura of the immortal extermination painting, Xing Luo retracted his gaze and flew in the direction of the outer realm devil tribe with the grey-robed man. At this moment, in the dilapidated space-time ethereal world, purgatory chains, Qin Yu, who had just recovered from his injuries, didn't hesitate and immediately started to search the soul of the 7-star ancient emperor. Under the killing intent ancient curse of the immortal extermination array, even if a 7-star ancient emperor was an older generation ancient emperor, he was powerless to resist. He could only sense that Qin Yu was searching his soul. Given the 7-star ancient emperor's shrewdness, he had already sealed his soul with a secret technique to prevent his secrets from being exposed. However, Qin Yu wasn't too concerned about the 7-star ancient emperor's secrets. He only wanted to know about Xing Luo and the other 11 ancient emperors, as well as the details of the battle in the graveyard of the immortal god. The 7-star ancient emperor naturally wouldn't seal this information. After all, it wasn't a big deal. Very quickly, Qin Yu obtained information about Xing Luo and the other ancient emperors. This information was much more detailed than what Pangong Hong and Taishu Kong had obtained. He even had a detailed understanding of the top forces in the 9 provinces of the Heaven Domain. Back then, was my soul really completely destroyed? However, the information he had obtained from the immortal god graveyard had left Qin Yu rooted to the spot. According to the memories of the 7-star ancient emperor, after Qin Yu was killed, Xingluo wanted to capture Qin Yu's remnant soul. However, this action was stopped by Ghost Emperor Zhentian and the others. In order to prevent Qin Yu from reviving, the 12 ancient emperors stopped Xingluo and completely destroyed Qin Yu's remnant soul. That was the complete destruction of one's soul. Not even the slightest bit of soul power remained in the world. Because of this, Xingluo even fought with Ghost Emperor Zhentian and the others. The alliance of the 13 ancient emperors collapsed after Qin Yu's soul was destroyed. After learning about the situation after that great battle, Qin Yu fell into deep thought. In his mind, two puzzling thoughts appeared. Firstly, his soul had already been destroyed back then. How could he still carry the memories of his previous life and reincarnate? Secondly, since Xingluo had joined forces with the 12 ancient emperors to besiege him, why did they fight to protect his remnant soul? What was Xingluo's goal? However, now was not the time to delve into this. Qin Yu quickly put away these distracting thoughts. The 7 great ancient emperors of the Middle Ground infiltrated the extraterritorial demon race to destroy the demonic origin veins. When Qin Yu came back to his senses, he learned about the plan of the 7 great ancient emperors of the Middle Ground after asking around. I see. So this is what the ancient emperors of the Middle Ground are really after. Qin Yu squinted his eyes as countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Rumble. However, at this moment, the entire space-time illusory world shook violently as though it had been hit by an ancient beast. The already fragmented space-time illusory world was about to collapse completely. If the space-time illusory world was intact, it would be difficult for outsiders to detect it. However, now that the space-time illusory world was broken, even Xingluo could sense the killing intent from the immortal extermination formation. It was naturally not difficult for outsiders to discover it. Dragon Soul, activate the space seal. Qin Yu shouted as he struck out with his palm. A ferocious dragon seal appeared and devoured the 7-star ancient emperor. The 7-star ancient emperor's soul was completely destroyed. The death of an older ancient emperor was felt by all the ancient emperors on the chaotic battlefield. Countless gazes fell on the faintly discernible space-time illusory world. That aura. It seems to be a 7-star ancient emperor. How is that possible? A 7-star ancient emperor is an older ancient emperor? Indeed. Even in the heaven domain, a 7-star ancient emperor is an existence that has reached the pinnacle. What kind of killing move has the extraterritorial demon tribe prepared? Quick, send someone over to take a look. The ancient emperors of the heaven domain reacted and immediately sent people over to the space-time illusory world. The Sky Demon Emperor and other extraterritorial demon tribe experts also sent people over. Since the ancient emperors of the heaven domain had been killed, it was highly likely that the person controlling the immortal extermination formation was from the extraterritorial demon tribe. This made the extraterritorial demon tribe experts, who were panicking, feel relieved. Swoosh. However, the Dragon Soul had already understood. It had already used the spacetime superpower to bring Qin Yu into the chaotic spacetime and disappeared without a trace. Whether it was the people who first discovered the spacetime illusory world, or the extraterritorial demon tribe experts and the extraterritorial demon tribe who discovered it later, they did not find any trace of it. Qin Yu, the 7-star ancient emperor, the immortal extermination formation, and the others had all disappeared. There was only a chaotic and destroyed space left. Crack. In a remote mountain range on the border between the spirit state and the demon spirit area, a spatial crack was torn open in the void, and a figure stumbled out of it. This person was Qin Yu, who had just killed the 7-star ancient emperor. Before entering the demon spirit area, Qin Yu had prepared an escape route just in case. The space mark, the teleportation mark, and the spacetime superpower of the Dragon Soul could allow him to escape easily even if he encountered an ancient emperor. Unless there was an ancient emperor who had also comprehended the spacetime Tao, it was impossible to stop Qin Yu in the chaotic void that was disturbed by the spacetime force. The power of the immortal extermination formation is fading rapidly. The Dragon Soul's voice rang in the ancient seal of the Dragon God the moment Qin Yu came out. Before leaving, Qin Yu had stored the immortal extermination formation in the ancient seal of the Dragon God. It seems like I have to get to the extraterritorial realm as soon as possible. Qin Yu slightly focused his attention and sensed. Sure enough, he discovered that the immortal exterminating divine power killing array was being drained unceasingly. Furthermore, the speed was extremely fast. Go to the extraterritorial realm? For what? The dragon soul was puzzled. With the immortal extermination formation and the invasion of the extraterritorial demon tribe, the extraterritorial demon tribe's main force was restrained. The dragon soul felt that now was the best time to continue attacking the other ancient emperors. Boundless demon territory. Qin Yu moved his right hand, and an item appeared in his hand. It was the demon tribe Saint Seal that he had obtained previously. Chapter 608. Primal Chaos Ancestor Dragon? The dragon soul was stunned when it saw the demon race Saint Seal. Then, its eyes lit up. Previously, they had seen from the demon race Saint Seal that there was a primal chaos ancestor dragon in the ancient demon race's ancestral land. However, because the ancient demon race had moved their ancestral land to the extraterritorial demon race, Qin Yu had not found a chance. Now, the chance had finally come. The extraterritorial demon race had invaded, and the ancient demon race had sent out many experts. The extraterritorial demon race's fighting power was definitely not as strong as before. Moreover, the 7 ancient emperors of the Central Ground had infiltrated the extraterritorial demon race's origin demon veins. This would definitely cause a commotion in the extraterritorial demon race. Qin Yu now had the ancient divine power killing formation, and his fighting power was strong enough to kill the older ancient emperors. Now was the best time to go to the extraterritorial demon race. As long as he could take down the primal chaos ancestor dragon, it would be much more meaningful than killing the ancient emperors. After all, the primal chaos ancestor dragon was the highest ranked dragon that they knew of. Once they subdued and refined it, their cultivation would increase tremendously. Qin Yu did as he thought. After handing the 7-star ancient emperor's body to the skeleton ghost king to refine, he immediately changed his appearance and flew toward the extraterritorial demon race. With the space-time power of the dragon soul, Qin Yu crossed the demon spirit territory in a short 15 minutes. In less than an hour, he crossed the extraterritorial battlefield and entered the extraterritorial demon race. Rumble. After flying tens of thousands of miles, Qin Yu was searching for the ancient demon race's ancestral land with the help of the demon race Saint Seal. Suddenly, he felt an earth-shattering explosion. After a slight pause, Qin Yu quietly flew over. Not long later, Qin Yu stopped in the air above a barren land filled with demonic qi. There was an earth-shattering battle taking place on the barren land. The two sides of the battle were dozens of heaven demon race experts and 7 sky domain martial artists. The 7 martial artists were naturally the 7 ancient emperors of the Central Ground who had invaded. Qin Yu glanced at the battle, then shifted his gaze to the area where the devil qi was billowing out. After his eyes narrowed slightly, Qin Yu came to an understanding. The place where surging devil qi was surging out ought to be the location of the vital devil vein to the outer realm devil race. It seems like quite a few familiar faces have come. However, suddenly, Qin Yu and the dragon soul both sensed something and started to conceal themselves. Temph. Just 7 ancient emperors and you dare to invade the forbidden grounds of my heavenly devil tribe? You must be tired of living. That was when a cold snort filled with killing intent rang out. The one who spoke was a black-robed elder wearing a crown among the sky demons. The black-robed old man's cultivation level was at the peak of the ancient emperor realm. He was no weaker than the 4 symbols ancient emperors. In fact, with the enhancement of the devil qi from the extraterritorial devil tribe, its power was even slightly suppressing the 4 ancient emperors and the others. The sky demon experts around the black-robed old man were furious as well. Their killing intent surged as their demonic aura suppressed the world. Be careful. This man was the previous sky demon emperor of the sky demons. If not for the abnormal changes in the devil vein, he would still be the current sky demon emperor. He is extremely powerful. Among the 7 ancient emperors, the Yushu Celestial Emperor warned the 4 symbols ancient emperors, the ghost-slaughtering fiend emperor, and the others. The extraterritorial devil tribe had a clear hierarchy. Strength was everything, and this was especially true among the 4 sovereign tribes and the 9 great royal tribes. Therefore, those who could claim the title of emperor among the 4 sovereign tribes were definitely the cream of the crop of their generation. Moreover, this person had abdicated of his own accord. He was so powerful that he was probably unmatched in the entire extraterritorial devil tribe. I'll trap him. You guys take the opportunity to attack and destroy the devil vein. End this quickly, the 4 symbols ancient emperor said solemnly. After all, this was the extraterritorial realm. Even the 4 sovereign tribes and the 9 great royal tribes had mobilized all their forces to invade the sky domain. Still, there were probably quite a number of remaining champions, and it was obvious from the number of sky demons that the longer they stayed here, the more dangerous the situation would be. 4 symbols circuit. With that, the 4 symbols ancient emperor suddenly attacked. With a wave of his sleeve, a 4 symbols ancient formation appeared behind him, transforming into a 4 symbols cage formation that descended from the skies. Sky Demon Flurry. The previous Sky Demon Emperor of the Sky Demons had long sensed it. He immediately moved sideways and dodged swiftly while casting a forbidden art of the Sky Demon clan to destroy the 4 symbols cage formation. Whoosh. Even so, the 4 appearances cage formation was indeterminate, and it instantly enveloped the former Sky Demon Emperor at lightning speed. Looks like the 4 symbols ancient emperor's cultivation has improved again over the past 1,000 years. There was a strange glint in the eyes of Qin Yu, who was watching the battle from the shadows. Qin Yu was no stranger to the 4 symbols Tao Emperor's 4 symbols circuit formation. Qin Yu had personally experienced it back in the graveyard of the immortal god. Compared to the 7-star ancient emperor, whose cultivation had not improved much over the past 1,000 years, the 4 symbols Tao Emperor's cultivation had improved significantly. At the very least, the 4 symbols ancient emperor's understanding of Tao power had improved by more than a level. Attack. Seeing that the 4 symbols Tao Emperor had successfully sealed the previous Sky Demon Emperor, the Imperial Void Celestial Emperor, the Ancient Arcane Demon Emperor, the Bloodfiend Spirit Emperor, the Heaven-Hating Sword Emperor, the Earthly Dark Mystic Emperor, and the Ghost Slaughter Emperor all turned into beams of light and charged forward. Stop them. Kill. The ancient emperors of the Sky Demon clan all charged forward, their demonic chi rippling and their killing intent surging. Rumble. Violent and destructive Tao techniques swept out at once. An earth-shattering battle erupted in the barren wasteland once more. Everything within a radius of 1,000,000 miles crumbled, the void distorted and chaotic. Looks like this battle won't end anytime soon. Just like Qin Yu, 3 figures were hiding in the void above the battlefield of chaos and destruction, quietly watching the battle from the shadows. They were the buried Sky Sword Immortal and the Jiang siblings, who had long since fled to the extraterritorial demon clan. Are you sure that the Spirit King is in the demon origin vein of the extraterritorial demon clan? Jiang Yuanyi focused his gaze on the place where demonic chi was billowing out, but he did not discover anything. Jiang Qingyu's clear eyes were also glowing with rainbow light. She could actually see through the restrictions set up by the Sky Demon clan and the demon origin vein within the demonic chi. I'm not sure if the Spirit King is still alive, but I'm certain that his aura is indeed emanating from here. Moreover, the demon origin vein of the extraterritorial demon clan is not just a vein, but a passageway to the extraterritorial demon realm. The buried Sky Sword Immortal nodded and spoke slowly, his eyes flashing with intense light as he spoke. A passageway to the extraterritorial demon realm? That means, Jiang Yuanyi and Jiang Qingyu were both shocked. According to ancient records, there were passageways to the extraterritorial demon realm and the extraterritorial demon realm. However, this was the first time they had learned of the true location of a passageway to the extraterritorial demon realm. If they had known, they would not have chosen to ascend after the Immortal Inquirer ancient path had been sealed for unknown reasons, and ended up in the cycle of reincarnation. Chapter 609. That's right. Once you pass through this passage, you'll be able to reach the outer region. However, judging from the demonic chi coming out of the passage, there's a high chance that it's a demonic domain beyond it. Therefore, I don't mind if you leave through this passage. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal said. Do you know of other passages to the outer region? Jiang Yuanyi and Jiang Qingyu looked at Sky Barrier Sword Immortal excitedly. Their cultivation had already recovered to their peak, and they were still in the Sky region to prepare for the Immortal Inquirer Ancient Road. If the Sky region also had passages to the outer region, they wouldn't have to take the risk of entering the Immortal Inquirer Ancient Road. Of course. After all, I've made it through the Immortal Inquirer Ancient Road alive. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal smiled confidently. Crack. While Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the Jiang siblings were talking, a clear, deafening crack was heard from the battle between the 7 ancient emperors of the Sky region and the Sky demons. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the other two looked over, their eyes filled with surprise. The Imperial Void Celestial Emperor and the others, who were about to break through the defensive line set up by the ancient emperors of the Sky demons, paled. They looked back and saw that the previous Sky Demon Emperor, who had been trapped by the 4 Symbols Tao Emperor's 4 Symbols Ancient Formation, had already blasted a 10-meter-wide crack in the formation. The 4 Symbols Ancient Formation had also suffered a significant backlash, with blood dripping from the corner of its mouth. The previous Sky Demon Emperor's terrifying strength was on full display. Attack! Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the Jiang siblings exchanged a look and immediately decided to attack. Now that the previous Sky Demon Emperor was still trapped, it was the best time to attack the demonic origin vein. If the previous Sky Demon Emperor was allowed to escape, it would definitely be a major hindrance to them. 3 forms of Sky Barrier. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal made a hand seal, and the pitch-black ancient sword on his back unsheathed, splitting into 99 rays of sword light that formed a circle around him. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal pointed with his finger, and the 99 rays of sword light cut through the air, carrying unparalleled sword might as they slashed at the Sky Demon Emperor's ancient emperor realm. Carnate indestructible art. Jiang Yuanyi also formed a seal with his hands and chanted something. His entire body emitted a treasure light. Every ray of white light contained a special and mysterious power of the Tao. The space was swept by those treasured lights, and pitch-black cracks immediately appeared. The power was extremely terrifying and shocking. Grand Mist Immortal Spirit Art. Jiang Qingyu flew up into the sky, and the 7-colored light in her eyes became even more intense, like a 7-colored rainbow. There was also a special imprint on her forehead. A supreme soul aura that could suppress the heavens and earth spread out. All living beings within a radius of 10 million miles felt as if their souls were being suppressed by a giant mountain, as if they would be crushed at any moment. Among the Jiang clan siblings, one had an indestructible innate divine body, while the other had an immortal grand mist holy soul. Now that their cultivation had been restored to the peak of the ancient emperor realm, their battle prowess was no weaker than the current Emperor Realm Masters of the Heaven Domain. Rumble. The ancient emperors of the Sky Demon clan, who were already struggling to resist the attacks of the 6 ancient emperors of the Qian Domain, were defeated in an instant. They could no longer stop the warriors of the Qian Domain. Who are they? Seeing the sudden appearance of the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the Jiang clan siblings, the Imperial Void Celestial Emperor, Demon Emperor Jiyu Xian, and the others were extremely shocked. The Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the other two possessed battle prowess that was no weaker than the veteran ancient emperors, but they had never seen them before. This naturally shocked them. That's the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal? He actually escaped from the Berserk Dragon Sovereign? Only the 4 Symbols Tao Emperor recognized the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal when he saw him. Xing Luo's pursuit of the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal could be hidden from the other ancient emperors, but the 4 Symbols Ancient Emperors, who were extremely familiar with Xing Luo, had already found out. Reincarnation power? Are they all reincarnators of the Qian Domain? In the shattered void filled with spatial cracks, 2 figures hid behind a spatial crack, watching the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the other 2 ancient emperors join the battle. These 2 were Xing Luo and the mysterious grey-robed man. I was wondering why I kept feeling that someone was hiding nearby. So that's why. Xing Luo's gaze landed on the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, a cold smile on his face. He had not been able to find the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal before, but today, the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal had taken the initiative to come knocking on his door. Get ready. If the Blood Elementalist really comes, He will definitely appear the moment the outer region passageway spirit barrier is broken. The grey-robed man did not notice Xing Luo's murderous intent towards the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, and transmitted his voice. Are you so sure that the Blood Elementalist will definitely come? Xing Luo looked at the chaotic battlefield and frowned slightly. The Blood Elementalist had been secretly conserving his energy and recovering from his injuries. His goal was to not expose himself before he recovered. Xing Luo did not think that the Blood Elementalist would appear under such circumstances. He will definitely appear. As long as he still wants the Immortal King's legacy, he will definitely not miss this opportunity. The grey-robed man smiled confidently. If that's the case, that would be the best. Xing Luo naturally hoped that the Blood Elementalist would appear. As long as he obtained the most important Immortal King token, it would only be a matter of time before he collected all 9 ancient Immortal tokens and entered the Immortal Trove. Break. After breaking through the line of defense set up by the Sky Devil Tribe's ancient emperors, the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the Jiang clan siblings ignored the astonished 7 ancient emperors of the central province and immediately attacked the spirit barrier on the origin demon vein. Don't even think about it. Demon summoning insignia. The Supreme Sky Devil Emperor, who was trapped by the 4 symbols Tao Emperors and trying to break the 4 symbols ancient formation, saw the situation. Sinister demonic tattoos covered his face, and terrifying demonic incantations exploded from his eyes. At this moment, demonic chi surged from the origin demon vein of the extraterritorial devil tribe into the Sky Devil Emperor's body, causing him to enter a berserk state. Wang, 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 wang. A series of soft vibrations came from the spirit barrier on the origin demon vein. Ancient demonic incantations appeared on the spirit barrier and formed an ancient demonic incantation formation. Rumble. Almost at the same time, the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the Jiang clan siblings' attacks landed on the spirit barrier like a tsunami. Deafening explosions rang out. This aura. However, the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the Jiang clan siblings didn't look happy at all. Instead, their eyebrows twitched. When the violent Tao technique fluctuations dissipated, 12 figures with overwhelming demonic auras appeared before the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the other 2 ancient emperors. It's the emperors of the other 3 sovereign tribes and the 9 great royal tribes. The 4 symbols Tao Emperors, the Imperial Void Heavenly Emperor, and the others couldn't help but change their expressions. They had thought that their plan would succeed once the spirit barrier was destroyed. However, they hadn't expected such an unforeseen event to occur midway. The Sky Devil Emperor alone was enough to hold them back. Now that an emperor had appeared, the 4 symbols ancient emperors and the others felt that their plan had no chance of success. Chapter 610. Since the emperors of the extraterritorial demon race hadn't participated in the invasion, it meant that the emperors of the extraterritorial demon race weren't part of the invasion. They were all veteran emperors of the extraterritorial demon race and the 9 sovereign races. Even if they weren't as strong as the previous demon emperor of the Sky Demon race, they wouldn't be able to find out much. This is going to be troublesome. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the Jiang clan siblings frowned even more. This situation was far beyond their expectations. Although they were considered the top of the ancient emperors, the 13 emperors of the extraterritorial demon race weren't comparable to ordinary ancient emperors. Defeating them and charging into the origin demon vein wasn't something that could be done in a short time. Kill. Without giving Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, the Jiang clan siblings, and the 7 ancient emperors of the middle ground much time, the 13 emperors of the demonic race immediately unleashed their strongest killing moves. At the same time, a violent explosion sounded. The celestial demon emperor, who had been trapped by the Tao emperor of 4 symbols, had also broken free and was fighting the Tao emperor of 4 symbols. The Tao emperor of 4 symbols, who had suffered a backlash, could only barely resist the berserk celestial demon emperor. The battle grew more intense, and the situation grew more desperate. The Ghost Slaughter Emperor, the Ghost Emperor of the Holy Island, who was the weakest of the 7 ancient emperors of the Sky Domain, was sent flying by the joint attack of 2 emperors of the demonic race, vomiting blood and suffering severe injuries. It seems that the origin demon vein boundary of the extraterritorial demon race isn't that easy to break. Xing Luo, who had been secretly waiting to reap the benefits, spoke slowly. Even the grey-robed man couldn't help but frown. Given the current situation, even he couldn't tell if Shuexiu would show up or not. Whoosh! But at this moment, an imperceptible blood-red light suddenly streaked across the sky, charging at the origin demon vein like a bolt of lightning. Bam bam! Wherever the blood-red light passed, the emperors of the demonic race and sky domain cultivators were sent flying. They couldn't stop it for even a moment. Crack! In an instant, the blood-red light hit the boundary of the origin demon vein, and an explosion sounded. The barrier that the sky demon race had set up over the origin demon vein was pulverized at once, and the streak of bloody light was gone in a flash. Immediately after, monstrous demonic chi erupted like a flood and swept out with a loud bang. The area within a radius of 10 million miles instantly turned into a sea of demonic chi. As expected, they are here. Light erupted from the eyes of Xingluo and the grey-clothed person. They immediately charged out of the spatial crack. With lightning speed, they closely followed the bloodlight and charged into the essence devil vein. That bloody light just now, he seems to be the blood elementalist we met in the sanctuary. The Jiang clan siblings looked at each other, their eyes flickering with surprise. Even they would find it difficult to instantly shatter the barrier set up by the Sky Fiend race. However, the crimson light from earlier had shattered in an instant. This caused them to be rather shocked. Back when they were in the Saint Region double-secret realm in the Central Plains, they had seen the Blood Demon and even joined forces with him for a short period of time. He had a good understanding of the Blood Demon's strength. But now, the strength that the Blood Demon displayed was far greater than before. How did the Blood Demon become so powerful in such a short time? The Berserk Dragon Sovereign. He's here too. Who informed him? Who's that with the Berserk Dragon Sovereign? The 7 ancient emperors of the Central Plains did not recognize the Blood Demon, but they saw Xingluo and the grey-clothed person. This caused the 4 Symbols Dao emperors, who had not been able to find Xingluo, to be rather surprised. Heavenly Dao true energy ripples. Is he from another region? Could he be here for the immortal chi as well? The Sky Barrier Sword Immortal's gaze fell on the grey-clothed person, his expression changing involuntarily. Let's go. The Sky Barrier Sword Immortal immediately reacted and roared. Ignoring the demon emperors, he charged into the Essence Devil vein with the Jiang clan siblings. Damn it! The former Celestial Demon Emperor's expression changed drastically when he saw this scene. He could not be bothered to attack the 4 Symbols Dao Emperors and quickly rushed into the Essence Devil vein as well. The Essence Devil vein was already in trouble. If they were to cause a ruckus, it would probably completely collapse. The former Celestial Demon Emperor had not expected that such an unforeseen event would occur in his originally foolproof defense. The existence of that bloody light was completely out of his expectations. The other demon emperors moved in groups. One group intercepted the 7 ancient emperors of the Qian domain, who were slightly slower to react, while the other group followed the former Celestial Demon Emperor into the Essence Devil vein. The 7 ancient emperors of the Qian domain gathered together and communicated with each other through voice transmission. They were not in a hurry to act. The demon emperors of the extraterritorial demon race did not act as they were apprehensive about the situation in the Essence Devil vein. The earth-shattering battle had calmed down at this moment. At this moment, as if thousands of swords and sabers had slashed through the void, a figure could be vaguely seen in the shattered void. That bloody light just now. Was it the blood cultivator from the Blood Demon continent? The dragon soul in the ancient dragon seal asked in a grave voice. Yes, it was him. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes and nodded slowly. What's going on? Didn't he say that he could not leave the Blood Demon continent? Could it be that he was lying to us? The dragon soul was puzzled and worried at the same time. The Blood Demon's cultivation was so strong that he did not seem like a human anymore. Even Xingluo and the others would find it difficult to deal with him. If so, the Blood Demon had told Qin Yu about the secret of the immortal treasure and gave the ancient immortal token to Qin Yu so that Qin Yu could avenge him. Something was obviously wrong. Given the Blood Demon's current cultivation, it would be a piece of cake for him to destroy a few orthodoxies in the Qian domain. Something is indeed wrong. The Blood Demon must be up to something. Qin Yu's eyes flashed as many thoughts flashed through his mind. What should we do then? Should we throw away the ancient immortal token? The dragon soul asked. The ancient immortal token is in the ancient dragon seal. Even if the blood demon did something to it, he would not be able to find out. There's no hurry. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. Although he did not know if the blood demon was telling the truth, from the power in the ancient immortal token, it definitely had something to do with the immortal treasure. Qin Yu would not spit out the cooked duck that was already in his mouth. After pondering for a while, Qin Yu saw that the 7 ancient emperors of the middle ground and the emperors of the extraterritorial demon race had no intention of fighting. He turned around and left silently. Qin Yu was not interested in destroying the origin demon vein or the secrets hidden in it. Since they were all after the origin demon vein, Qin Yu would naturally not get involved. He had to make use of this opportunity to find the ancestral grounds of the ancient demon race. The moment Qin Yu left, one of the 7 ancient emperors of the middle ground seemed to have sensed something and looked over. Chapter 611. That person was the Vice Island Master of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island, the Ghost-Slaughtering Fiend Emperor, Gui Ya. Among the 7 ancient emperors of the Central Ground, Gui Ya's injuries were the most serious. Although Gui Ya was also a famous ancient emperor, he was still a far cry from the 4 Symbols Dao Emperor and the other older ancient emperors. If not for the sudden appearance of the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, the Jiang siblings, the Blood Demon, Xing Luo, and the others, the plan to destroy the origin demon vein would have been ruined. Amidst the deathly silence and surging murderous aura, the chaotic ripple emitted by the essence devil vein also became increasingly powerful. Rumble. Finally, after more than an hour, a violent explosion came from the origin demon vein. After the origin demon vein swelled violently, it suddenly exploded and turned into a sea of demonic qi. The demonic qi in this sea of demonic qi was much darker and purer than the demonic qi from before. However, a whirlpool appeared within the sea of demonic qi. The whirlpool rotated, trapping all of the demonic qi that was gushing out, preventing it from spreading in all directions. How can this be? Seeing the origin demon vein explode, the emperors of the extraterritorial demon tribe were shocked. They could not care less about the 7 ancient emperors of the Central Ground and fled into the whirlpool. Success. Retreat. The 4 Symbols Dao Emperor, the Imperial Void Heavenly Emperor, and the other ancient emperors were overjoyed when they saw the origin demon vein explode. Without any hesitation, they immediately flew away. As for the lives of the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal, Xing Luo, and the others, they did not care. This should be the place. Qin Yu, who was holding the demon race's Saint Seal and carefully sensing the ancient demon tribe's ancestral land, came to a huge mountain range filled with demonic qi. Although the fluctuations were weak, the demonic qi fluctuations that resonated with the demon race's Saint Seal could be felt from the mountain range. It was not the demonic qi fluctuations of the extraterritorial demon tribe, but a power that contained spiritual qi and demonic qi. Until now, there was only one tribe that could perfectly fuse spiritual qi and demonic qi, and that was the ancient demon tribe that had tried to unify the 9 states in the heaven domain. A barrier. Qin Yu put away the demon race's Saint Seal and quietly approached the mountain range. He focused his senses for a moment and found that the entire mountain range was covered by an extremely ancient barrier. It was no wonder that Qin Yu, who possessed the ancient demon race's Saint Seal, was only able to sense the location of the ancient demon race's ancestral land after coming so close. Void evasion. Although this enchantment was ancient, with Qin Yu's methods, it was not difficult to break it. He could even pass through it using the evading sky stealing technique. However, in order to prevent himself from being detected by the ancient devil clan, Qin Yu did not break the barrier. Instead, he used his Dragon Soul space-time ability to tear space apart and disappeared into thin air. A moment later, somewhere in the mountain range, a crack silently appeared in the void, and a figure leaped out from the crack. A cemetery? After looking around, Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. From the outside, it looked like a mountain range filled with demonic aura. However, when he entered, he realized that this mountain range could be said to be a cemetery. Tombstones could be seen everywhere, and there were many irregular burial mounds. At a glance, There were too many to count. It was as if the entire mountain range was buried with burial mounds. After looking around, Qin Yu used the demon race's Saint Seal as a guide and flew at an extremely fast speed. After half a day, Qin Yu finally found the entrance to the ancient demon race's ancestral land, the boundless demon territory, in the depths of the mountain range. At the entrance, there were several ancient emperors guarding the ancient demon race. However, judging from their cultivation, they were only comparable to ordinary ancient emperors. They were completely incomparable to the older ancient emperors in the Central Plains. After looking around, Qin Yu did not attack the ancient demon race's ancestral land. He directly flew into the boundless demon territory without anyone noticing. The boundless demon territory was just like what Qin Yu had seen in the demon race's Saint Seal. It was vast and boundless, and the demonic might shook the heavens. I sensed it. To the east. The moment they entered, Qin Yu and the dragon soul's expressions brightened, and they were overjoyed. To be honest, before they came, they were still a little uncertain. After all, what kind of creature was the chaotic ancestor dragon? It was unlikely that it would be trapped by the ancient demon race. However, now that they clearly sensed the aura of the chaotic ancestor dragon, they were finally certain. This naturally made Qin Yu and the dragon soul excited. They had risked their lives to come here, and fortunately, they did not come empty-handed. Qin Yu and the dragon soul immediately flew closer. The boundless demon territory was indeed vast and boundless, as if it was a world of its own. However, with Qin Yu's extreme speed, it only took him a few dozen breaths to arrive at the place where the chaotic ancestor dragon's dragon chi was emitting fluctuations. A mountain? No, this is. However, after arriving, Qin Yu could not help but be stunned when he saw the scene in front of him. In the void in front of Qin Yu, there was a huge black shadow that covered the sky. Qin Yu originally thought that it was a mountain, but when he took a closer look, he realized that something was completely wrong. It was a huge demonic statue that was 100 million feet tall and surrounded by demonic chi, suspended in midair. That demonic statue had 3 heads and 6 arms, wearing ancient armor. Its face was ferocious, and its murderous aura was overflowing. Under the huge demonic statue that covered the sky, there was a majestic Shenron that was filled with chaotic dragon chi. It was the chaotic ancestor dragon. This demonic statue actually suppressed the chaotic ancestor dragon. The dragon soul appeared from the ancient dragon seal and looked at the scene in disbelief. The chaotic ancestor dragon was rumored to be a supreme dragon that could evolve into the immortal ancient Shenron, but now, it was suppressed by such a demonic statue. This made the dragon soul in disbelief. It did not know what kind of mystery this demonic statue had to be able to suppress the chaotic ancestor dragon. It's not as simple as suppressing it. After Qin Yu focused his gaze, there was a strange glint in his eyes. What do you mean? The dragon soul asked, puzzled. There are 2 forces in this demonic statue. One is the demonic Tao force that far surpasses the extraterritorial demon race, and the other is similar to the immortal force fluctuation that I sensed in the immortal trove, and the immortal force inheritance that buried Sky Sword Immortal had passed down. It is because of this immortal force that the chaotic ancestor dragon is suppressed. The demonic Tao force in the demonic statue controls the demonic chi of the entire boundless demon sea, and is continuously instilling it into the chaotic ancestor dragon's body. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. He could see everything in the demonic statue clearly. But when he saw through it, Qin Yu was also extremely shocked. He did not know what kind of existence could be so skillful that it could perfectly integrate the demonic Tao force and the immortal Tao force into the demonic statue. In Qin Yu's knowledge, even the legendary existences in various ancient books did not seem to have such power. Could it be that it was left behind by an ancient immortal from the immortal ancient era? Instilling demonic chi into the chaotic ancestor dragon's body? Could it be that they want to transform the chaotic ancestor dragon into the legendary chaotic demon dragon? Hearing this, the dragon soul immediately reacted. Chapter 6:12. That should be the case. Qin Yu nodded and shifted his gaze from the primal chaos ancestor dragon to the colossal demonic figure. Without a doubt, if Qin Yu wanted to obtain the primal chaos ancestor dragon, he would first have to find a way to break through the suppression of the 3-headed, six-armed demonic figure. The fusion of immortal and demonic powers made Qin Yu feel a little tricky. If it was just immortal power, it would not be difficult to succeed with the archaic battle dragon Art's ability to restrain immortal power. However, Qin Yu did not have a good way to deal with the demonic power. The strength of this demonic power was far from what the emperors of the extraterritorial demon tribe could compare to. Even the demonic chi from the extraterritorial demon tribe's demonic veins could not compare to this demonic chi. Forget it, let's try first. After pondering for a long time, Qin Yu, who was still unable to come up with a good countermeasure, flew toward the three-headed, six-armed devil statue. Since he was already in front of him, he could not give up just because he did not have a countermeasure. When Qin Yu flew out, the dragon soul returned to the mystical dragon ancient seal and formed a seal with both hands. Space-time power spread out and surrounded it. This was the starting seal to open the space-time ethereal world. As long as Qin Yu could find a way to break through the three-headed, six-armed demonic figure's power, the dragon soul would immediately open the space-time ethereal world and bring Qin Yu and the primal chaos ancestor dragon directly into the space-time ethereal world. After all, this was the territory of the ancient demon tribe. Once Qin Yu's identity was exposed here, it would be like poking a hornet's nest. Although the dragon soul was now more proficient in space-time arts, it could not easily escape when facing an enemy. To put it bluntly, the dragon soul's current escape technique was similar to the sky thief art. It could only be used as a support technique and did not have the power to fight against an ancient emperor. Azure dragon fights the heavens. Dragon god tyrannical body. Immortal vanquishing divine power killing formation. With a thought, Qin Yu's body was covered in azure dragon scales, and the mysterious dragon inscriptions were clearly visible. At the same time, the mighty ancient divine power surged, and a monstrous killing intent erupted from Qin Yu, wreaking havoc in the world. Roar. Suddenly, a shocking dragon roar was heard. It was the primal chaos ancestor dragon awakening after sensing the dragon aura on Qin Yu's body. You're not an ancient demon. You're a human? The primal chaos ancestor dragon stared at Qin Yu with his lake-sized dragon eyes that were filled with primal chaos chi. He seemed to be extremely surprised that a human would appear here. You still have intelligence. Qin Yu couldn't help but be stunned when he heard this. Given the primal chaos ancestor dragon's cultivation, it was only natural for him to be able to take human form. However, Qin Yu really did not expect that the primal chaos ancestral dragon would still be able to retain its intelligence after being suppressed by the three-headed, six-armed demon statue for so long. Judging from the terrifying demonic aura that was poured into the demonic statue, no matter how powerful the primal chaos ancestor dragon's cultivation was, he should have been knocked unconscious by the impact. You, a human, actually managed to sneak into this place. Tell me, what's your motive? The primal chaos ancestor dragon, who was originally coiled up, rose into the sky. His 1,000-foot-long body was like a giant mountain as he ruthlessly suppressed Qin Yu with an unparalleled dragon aura. The giant demon statue that was originally floating above the primal chaos ancestor dragon's head also rose into the sky. This can't be. When Qin Yu saw the giant demon statue that rose into the sky with the primal chaos ancestor dragon, he seemed to have understood something as a strange look flashed across his eyes. Could it be that the primal chaos ancestor dragon wants to become a primal chaos demon dragon of his own accord and is not being suppressed here by force? The dragon soul also came to a realization. Previously, they had assumed that the primal chaos ancestor dragon was suppressed here by someone. However, judging from the three-headed, six-armed state now, it didn't seem to be the case. Roar. While Qin Yu and the dragon soul were still in shock, the primal chaos ancestor dragon suddenly opened his mouth. A torrent of primal chaos divine light broke through the sky and covered Qin Yu with destructive murderous intent. Looks like I can't be wrong, Qin Yu revealed a cold smile. If that was the case, things would be easier. Immediately, Qin Yu's mind moved and the immortal vanquishing divine power killing formation was activated. The substantial divine power condensed into a divine power blade. With a piercing sound, the primal chaos divine light that the primal chaos ancestor dragon spewed out was directly torn apart by the divine power blade. The primal chaos ancestor dragon's cultivation is one level lower than a 7-star ancient emperor. The dragon soul sensed the power of the primal chaos ancestor dragon's attack and was slightly surprised before understanding. Given the primal chaos ancestor dragon's cultivation, even if it had not surpassed the 9th realm of the martial path, it should have at least reached the peak of the ancient emperor realm. But now, the primal chaos ancestor dragon was forcefully injecting demonic chi into his body. He probably wanted to use this to break through the limits of the ancient emperor realm. However, in this way, the dragon chi and demonic chi in the primal chaos ancestor dragon's body were not perfectly integrated and could not evolve. This caused the primal chaos ancestor dragon's cultivation to be much weaker than when it was at its peak. It was no wonder that the ancient demon tribe experts were needed to guard outside the boundless demon realm. Qin Yu's expression changed slightly as he looked at the entrance of the boundless demon realm. Several ancient emperor realm auras were rushing in this direction at an astonishing speed. The primal chaos ancestor dragon's attack must have alerted the ancient demon tribe at the entrance of the boundless demon realm. I have to end this quickly. Dragon soul, I'll leave the rest to you. Qin Yu's eyes were sharp as he made up his mind. Don't worry. The dragon soul nodded as it knew what Qin Yu wanted to do. It's no wonder that you could sneak in with your cultivation. So you relied on the power of this formation. The primal chaos ancestor dragon snorted coldly as the primal chaos dragon curse fluctuated in his lake-sized dragon eyes. The monstrous dragon might that he exuded became even more terrifying. Moreover, the primal chaos ancestor dragon was targeting the immortal vanquishing divine power killing formation around Qin Yu. Swoosh. However, before the primal chaos ancestor dragon finished speaking, Qin Yu was as fast as lightning. With a flash, he rushed in front of the primal chaos ancestor dragon and stood side by side with him. You're courting death. The primal chaos ancestor dragon was enraged. His dragon-like tail swept across the sky, shattering the void inch by inch. He swore to crush Qin Yu directly. Divine Dragon Ancient Seal. Qin Yu formed a seal with his hands. A huge ancient seal that covered the sky pressed down from the sky. A ring of vast divine light was emitted from the ancient seal, enveloping the giant 3-headed and 6-armed demonic figure and the primal chaos ancestor dragon. Suppress. Qin Yu roared. A dragon roar that pierced through the 9 heavens and 10 earths resounded from the divine dragon ancient seal. The dragon roar was so powerful that it made the furious primal chaos ancestor dragon tremble slightly. A tinge of fear appeared in the dragon's eyes. The primal chaos ancestor dragon was indeed the highest-ranked dragon species in the heaven domain. However, the divine dragon ancient seal was refined by Qin Yu using the body of the immortal ancient Shenron. One had to know that the immortal ancient Shenron was an existence that was comparable to the ancient immortals. At that moment, the primal chaos ancestor dragon's origin dragon blood and dragon soul were intimidated by the might of the immortal ancient Shenron contained within the divine dragon ancient seal. Keep. While the primal chaos ancestor dragon was frightened, Qin Yu seized the opportunity. The divine dragon ancient seal turned into a bottomless black hole and sucked in the 3-headed and 6-armed demonic figure and the primal chaos ancestor dragon. Chapter 613. Spacetime Mirage. Almost as soon as the ancient seal of the divine dragon sucked the primal chaos ancestor dragon and the 3-headed, 6-armed demon golem into it, the dragon soul, who was already prepared, immediately roared. Wang, wang, wang. As the spacetime power boiled in the void, a huge spacetime gap appeared and turned into a huge mirage. Whoosh. With a thought, Qin Yu made the ancient seal of the divine dragon shrink rapidly until it was the size of a palm. Qin Yu held the ancient seal of the divine dragon and immediately escaped into the spacetime gap. In an instant, the demon sea, which had been boiling with a great battle, became deathly silent. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Not long after, numerous figures flew out from the entrance of the boundless demon sea. They were the ancient demon clan experts who had sensed the battle and came to investigate. What's going on? The primal chaos ancestor dragon and the demon golem are both gone. Could it be that the killing intent just now was really from someone who snuck in? How is that possible? We have been guarding the entrance and did not leave at all. The ancestors of my race have endured and guarded the ancestral land for generations, all for the sake of the day when our race can return to the peak. If the primal chaos devil statue and the primal chaos ancestral dragon are lost under our protection, then we will die 1,000 deaths. Don't panic. From the situation before us, someone must have snuck in. Moreover, to be able to resist the demon golem and the primal chaos ancestor dragon, his cultivation is at least at the peak of the ancient emperor realm. However, no matter how strong his cultivation is, it is impossible for him to break through the immortal demon boundary of the demon golem and escape with the primal chaos ancestor dragon in such a short time. Therefore, that person is most likely still hiding somewhere in the ancestral land. In that case, quickly inform the patriarch to seal everything. The ancient demon clan experts' expressions changed drastically when they saw the empty three-headed, six-armed demon golem and the primal chaos ancestor dragon. Without any hesitation, they all moved out. At this time, in the spacetime mirage, in the ancient seal of the divine dragon that was as vast as the starry sky. What is this place? The primal chaos ancestor dragon, who had been sucked into the ancient seal of the divine dragon, looked around in shock. Inside the ancient seal of the dragon, the primal chaos ancestor dragon's origin dragon blood was suppressed to the point of uncontrollable. How could the primal chaos ancestor dragon not be shocked? He even felt a little fearful. Without control over the origin bloodline, the primal chaos ancestor dragon's combat strength would be weakened by at least 70 to 80%. This was undoubtedly fatal to the primal chaos ancestor dragon. Primal chaos ancestor dragon, you should be able to see the situation you're in right now. Either you submit to me, or you die here. Qin Yu's killing intent surged. Although nearly half of the immortal vanquishing death design's godly power had been depleted, its power was still far from being able to boost Qin Yu to the level of an ancient emperor. But now, since the primal chaos ancestor dragon had fallen into the ancient seal of the dragon god, the situation was completely different. The divine dragon ancient seal was refined from the body of the immortal ancient Shenron. Not only did it contain the dragon might of the immortal ancient Shenron, but it could also suppress the bloodline of the dragon clan. More importantly, the divine dragon ancient seal still contained the power of immortal ancient Shenron, which Qin Yu could draw upon and descend upon himself. It was just that Qin Yu's cultivation was too weak in the past, and he could not use it. Of course, the most important point was that Qin Yu had to be in the ancient seal of the dragon god to be able to use it a few times. Therefore, other than under such special circumstances, Qin Yu would not rashly use the power of the ancient seal of the dragon god, lest he expose its existence. Submit, or die. Heh, Junior, do you think that just because you've captured me temporarily, I can only let you slaughter me? When the primal chaos ancestor dragon heard Qin Yu's words, his initially astonished dragon eyes revealed a cold sneer. Although he was in such a situation, the primal chaos ancestor dragon did not seem to be too worried. The reason why the primal chaos ancestor dragon was shocked and even terrified was because the ancient seal of the dragon god had suppressed his origin bloodline to such a terrifying extent. This was a situation that had never happened before in the primal chaos ancestor dragon's knowledge. As for Qin Yu, if not for his carelessness, the primal chaos ancestor dragon would not have been trapped in the ancient seal of the dragon god. Your confidence is nothing more than this demonic statue, right? Since I'm confident that I can trap you here, do you think that I can't break the demonic statue's boundary power? Qin Yu flew up and circled above the primal chaos ancestor dragon. To be honest, Qin Yu was quite curious about the three-headed, six-armed demonic statue's flight. What kind of existence could actually merge the immortal and demonic powers into one so perfectly? There should not be such a powerful existence in the ancient demon race. Otherwise, just by controlling the immortal Tao power, it should be able to sweep across the heaven domain and not end up in the state of being expelled from the heaven domain. Tempage, this demonic statue's boundary is formed by the fusion of ancient immortal power and ancestral demonic power. You're just an ant that hasn't even stepped into the ancient emperor realm, and you want to break the boundary? When the primal chaos ancestor dragon heard this, the sneer in his eyes deepened. The primal chaos ancestor dragon knew very well that even at his peak, he could not break the demonic statue's boundary unless he could control the ancestral demon power and ancient immortal power at the same time. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to break the barrier. As long as the boundary was not broken, the primal chaos ancestor dragon would be safe, and the ancient demon race would definitely not sit idly by. At that time, it was not certain who would be the meat on the chopping block. This time, Qin Yu did not waste any more words with the primal chaos ancestor dragon. After circling the three-headed, six-armed demonic statue several times, his eyes flashed with white light as he carefully observed the demonic statue's boundary. "How is it? Did you find anything?" The dragon soul flew to Qin Yu's side and asked Qin Yu. The dragon soul did not notice that the moment he appeared, the primal chaos ancestor dragon's huge dragon eyes flashed with greed, surprise, and other emotions. "I have a clue." Qin Yu pondered for a moment, and the demon race's Saint Seal appeared in his hand. From the first time he saw the three-headed, six-armed demonic statue, Qin Yu discovered that the demonic power contained within the statue was somewhat similar to the demon race's Saint Seal. "Break." Qin Yu acted as soon as he thought of it. With a low cry, the true Yuan of the war dragon surged and engulfed the demon race's Saint Seal. Immediately, the demon race's Saint Seal trembled, and mysterious demonic runes appeared on its surface. BZZT BZZT BZZT. While Qin Yu trapped the primal chaos ancestor dragon in the void realm and thought of a way to break the demonic statue's boundary, in the forbidden grounds of the sky demons in the outer realm, violent, destructive ripples were surging out continuously from the center of the vortex in the Sea of Demonic Qi. Within the vortex of the Sea of Demonic Qi was a vast expanse of space where demonic Qi surged. The demonic Qi was so violent that it seemed to be condensed from solid sword and blade aura, and the very air itself was faintly being cut apart by it. But at this moment, several figures with frightening auras were facing each other in the surging demonic Qi. They were none other than the Blood Demon, Star Luo, the Grey-Robed Man, the Heaven-Barrier Sword Immortal, the Jiang siblings, and the previous Celestial Demon Emperor. In front of them was a faintly discernible ancient palace that was about to appear from another dimension.